He's that Chu Feng. How is he so young? He really went onto the 6th floor. Endless cries of surprise rang out from the crowd because Chu Feng broke a legend and became the first person to step onto the peak of the Asura Ghost Tower in 100 years. He became the idol of many people. Although the current Chu Feng was still very weak, with his talent, he was fated to become an extremely significant character. At that moment, everyone who were there witnessed the birth of a huge character. Because of that, they felt honored and proud. Especially Chu Feng's young and tender appearance let people know that he was very young. So they felt even more shocked because that proved his impressiveness even more. From the bottom of their hearts, they felt that Chu Feng's future achievements were unlimited. Suddenly, within the vast ocean of humans, a road appeared. Powerful people from the Jai clan, being led by 3 elders, aggressively walked towards Chu Feng. Behind the 3 elders were Jai Heng, Jai Gang, and the others. They were the people that were madly beaten up by Chu Feng. Although their auras recovered quite a bit, the wounds that Chu Feng left could still be seen on their bodies. Jai Heng, Jai Gang, was it him that attacked you in the Asura Ghost Tower? An elder from the Jai clan pointed at Chu Feng and asked, "Elder, he is Chu Feng who spoke nonsense and didn't put the Jai clan within his eyes." Jai Heng replied, and his fierce gaze swept over Chu Feng's body. "Apprehend him." The elder from the Jai clan coldly yelled. In the instant after he spoke, several powerful people behind him rushed towards Chu Feng. They were all experts of the profound realm. When the pressure gathered in a single area and pressed forward, it was like an invisible huge mountain, and even Chu Feng tightly frowned. "Chu Feng, I'll lend you my power." Seeing that the situation was not great, Eggy wanted to lend her power to Chu Feng and let Chu Feng break through the surrounding attack. No need. However, Chu Feng chose to decline. Not only did he not avoid or dodge it, he even stood where he was while waiting for the attacks of the Jai clan to arrive. At first, Eggy felt surprised about Chu Feng's actions, but she, who shared everything with Chu Feng, quickly understood his intentions. Suddenly, a golden-colored gale came sweeping by, and the several profound realm Jai clan members flipped over as they were blown like scarecrows, and they were thrown away by the wind. At the same time, 3 aged figures appeared in front of Chu Feng without any noise. The one who led was Elder Lai of the World Spirit Guild. The one called Lai move. "This is a private grudge between my Jai clan and this child. Do not interfere." Seeing that, the expressions of the elders from the Jai clan changed greatly as they pointed at Elder Lai and yelled extremely displeasedly. "Nonsense! This place is my World Spirit Guild's, and it isn't your Jai clan turn to act so atrociously." Elder Lai's face also turned cold as he waved his big sleeve. Coming from outside of the plaza, several thousand people rushed in and completely surrounded the Jai clan. The one called Lai, "You have quite the nerves. For an outsider, you arm yourself against my Jai clan. This violates the Treaty of the Alliance, and it destroys the peaceful relationship between my Jai clan and your World Spirit Guild. Are you able to carry this responsibility?" The Jai clan elder interrogated. "HMPH, don't think I don't know about your Jai clan's fine deeds in the Asura Ghost Tower. Even if does violate the treaty, your Jai clan erred first. Today, I will place my words right here. Chu Feng is protected by my World Spirit Guild. If any one of you dares to attack Chu Feng, do not blame me for not restraining myself." Elder Lai's gaze were like flames, and his tone was extremely forceful. "Fine," the one called Lai. "Let's see if you can carry this responsibility." In response, even though the Jai clan were extremely angered, they did not say anything, and they only led their army, turned around and left. After all, that was the territory of the World Spirit Guild, and they were indeed in the wrong for that exam. "Don't worry, even if your Jai clan doesn't look for me, my World Spirit Guild will look for you for fairness." Elder Lai also didn't let him go so easily. After the Jai clan left, the curtains of the White Cloak exam also fell. However, Chu Feng, who was the focus of this exam, did not leave, as he was invited by the World Spirit Guild into a very luxurious palace. A grand feast was already prepared for treating Chu Feng, and the person who received Chu Feng was his peer, Gu Bo. Brother Gu Bo, this. Chu Feng felt a bit overwhelmed as he looked at the sumptuous feast. Not only did the World Spirit Guild help him hold back the troubles from the Jai clan, currently, they were even treating him like that, so he was quite overwhelmed. Brother Chu Feng, no need restrain yourself. You are worthy enough to be treated like this by my World Spirit Guild. Gu Bo smiled at Chu Feng. After hearing that, Chu Feng understood the intentions of the World Spirit Guild. Obviously, they saw his own potential, and they wanted to pull Chu Feng into the World Spirit Guild. To Chu Feng, that was a good thing, so he did not push it away. However, at that moment, the exam already finished, and everyone who participated in the exam already left the World Spirit Guild. Zhuge Liang was still waiting outside, and since Chu Feng was afraid that his master would be worried, he said, "Brother Gu Bo, my master is still outside of the World Spirit Guild. I want." Chu Feng, bro, don't worry. People have already been sent to invite your master, and the both of you will reunite soon. Gu Bo smiled, then pulled Chu Feng to take a seat. At the same time, outside of the World Spirit Guild, within a city that was specially made for providing rest for outsiders, Zhuge Liang was standing at the city gate while anxiously waiting. Have you heard of a young man called Chu Feng in this exam? He stepped onto the 6th floor of the Asura Ghost Tower and got a ripe spirit fruit. I've heard of it. I even know that Chu Feng is only 15 years old this year, but already has the cultivation of the 1st level of the origin realm. His battle prowess is even more frightening. According to rumors, even those at the 5th level of the origin realm cannot defeat him. That's right, the young generation of the Jai clan were all swept away, and even that Jai Bufin was defeated by Chu Feng's hands. Several of them. He even defeated the Jai clan members. He's a bit too bold, right? With how the Jai clan think, they would certainly not forgive him. You don't understand. Talent like Chu Feng's hasn't appeared for 100 years, and he is already destined in becoming a genius. The World Spirit Guild has already let out word that they would protect Chu Feng. Right now, he is invited to the World Spirit Guild as a guest, and the Jai clan would not dare to touch him. As Zhuge Liang was waiting for the arrival of Chu Feng, several white cloak world spiritists next to him were chatting to one another. One mouth after the other were talking about Chu Feng, and the heart of Zhuge Liang, who listened, jumped. So he went up and politely asked, "Old brothers, did the Chu Feng that you were talking about come from the Azure province?" Azure province. Although I don't know where that Chu Feng came from, such a powerful genius shouldn't have come from the Azure province, right? Yeah, how can a genius like Chu Feng appear from a place like the Azure province? They first looked at Zhuge Liang, then all of them shook their heads. Then, that Chu Feng has a blue-colored long robe, white face, thick eyebrows, big eyes, tall and straight nose, and also a young and tender appearance. He is also skilled in a strange martial skill. He is able to control his origin power to condense various types of gold-colored weapons out as he wishes, and he uses them quite impressively. Especially after condensing a golden-colored longbow, the arrows that are shot do not miss, and even those at the 5th level of the origin realm can't resist against it. Zhuge Liang continued asking. I'm not too clear about what he wore and his appearance, but he did seem to grasp a rank 5 martial skill that can condense various weapons out. That's right, I heard that he is good with an outstanding bodily martial skill. Lightning rises from under his feet and he becomes strangely quick. One of them answered. After hearing those words, Zhuge Liang rejoiced, and after hitting his fist to his palm, he said, "It is certainly him." Old brother, from your tone, you seem to know that Chu Feng. Seeing that, several of them suspiciously asked. As he looked at the several expressions, Zhuge Liang raised his head high, stuck his chest out, then said while patting his chest, "To be completely honest, that Chu Feng is my disciple." Ha 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 ha. What Zhuge Liang's words were exchanged for were the laughter of the others, as if they heard the most funniest joke in the world. Seeing that, Zhuge Lian's face was a bit ugly, however. He did not know how to explain it. Although he was a fearful character in the Azure Dragon School at this place, he really wasn't much, not to mention the others. But even the people who he chatted with at that instant were all experts of the profound realm. He could not find any feelings of superiority, because very few people who were roughly in the same generation as him were weaker than him. Look, it's the people from the World Spirit Guild. But just at that time, suddenly, someone pointed nearby and yelled in surprise. After looking over, indeed, there was a group formed by 100 people from the World Spirit Guild, and they were currently walking over. At that instant, even Zhuge Liang revealed an expression of reverence. As world spiritists, which one did not want to join the World Spirit Guild and become a member of that huge group. However, the requirements for the World Spirit Guild were extremely strict, and one could not join with only a certain level of cultivation. They required the World Spiritist's talent, and they needed to sign a special contract. That contract was equivalent to a contract that sold themselves. Not only that, it also sold their offsprings, and every single generation were required to serve the World Spirit Guild. It was a huge restriction. So that contract gave many a chance to become a member of the World Spirit Guild. But it also made those who enjoyed freedom to stop and only look. What Zhuge Liang did not expect was that the group of people from the World Spirit Guild stopped in front of him. The middle-aged man who led looked at the portrait in his hands, then politely said to Zhuge Liang, "If I may ask, are you Mr. Zhuge Liang?" "That's me," Zhuge Liang cautiously replied. This tone was very kind as well, because he did not dare to have a single trace of disrespect towards the World Spirit Guild. Even if their cultivation was inferior to him, he still did not dare. "Congratulations, Mr. Zhuge. Your disciple, Chu Feng, got first place in the White Cloak exam. On the orders of the elders, I invite you to be a guest at the World Spirit Guild." After confirming Zhuge Liang's identity, his attitude became even more respectful. "Yao you, you really are." After hearing those words, before even letting Zhuge Liang respond, the several people next to him were like exploding pots. Their faces were stunned because they knew that this time they really had eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. As for Zhuge Liang, his heart was filled with joy, and he was so excited that he didn't know what to do. He never would have thought that the World Spirit Guild would invite him in such a grand way. It was quite an honorable thing. Of course, the thing that he was even more happy about was that the World Spirit Guild gave him an answer. It was that his disciple, Chu Feng, was truly first in the White Cloak exam. To him, that was an extremely glorious thing. After that, Zhuge Liang went into the World Spirit Guild, and Elder Lai even personally welcomed Chu Feng and Zhuge Liang. He even invited Chu Feng and Zhuge Liang to be a member of the World Spirit Guild. The most important thing was that they got a status badge. It was a very special kind, as it was similar to the status of being a guest elder. Their freedoms were not restricted, yet they could enjoy all the benefits of being from the World Spirit Guild, possibly even getting better treatment. That made Chu Feng and Zhuge Liang extremely glad, especially Zhuge Liang, because that was equal to completing an uncompletable wish, as he was able to become a member of the World Spirit Guild. After being a member of the World Spirit Guild, Zhuge Liang received an invitation, and he decided to stay in the World Spirit Guild for a few more days. As for Chu Feng, since he had matters to attend to, he needed to quickly return to the Azure province. Before leaving, Chu Feng gave the ripe spirit fruit that he nourished in the Asura Ghost Tower to Zhuge Liang. That attracted the admiration of Elder Lai, because a ripe spirit fruit was extremely precious, and it helped one's spirit power greatly. As for Zhuge Liang, he was even more touched. He knew that he took in the right disciple, and the many years of waiting were not wasted, because he accepted an impressive disciple. So on that day, Chu Feng left the World Spirit Guild and headed towards the Azure province because, after some calculations of the date, the time to Su Mei's marriage already neared. Within the clear and bright skies, above the endless white clouds, a huge white-headed eagle streaked past the air. That white-headed eagle was extremely beautiful, and its speed was strangely quick. It was a white-headed eagle of the highest quality, and it was one of the presents that the World Spirit Guild gave Chu Feng. Chu Feng sat cross-legged on the white-headed eagle as he closed his eyes to rest. He did not steer the eagle because it understood human nature, and it understood the paths in the Spirit Province and the Azure Province. There was no need to steer it. With a few words, it would automatically arrive to the destination. Gone, after flying out of the Spirit Province and into the Azure Province, Chu Feng slowly opened his eyes and swept his gaze behind. Gone. The Jai clan aren't idiots, and they know that the World Spirit Guild would hiddenly see you off. Naturally, they would not dare to attack. Egge's pleasant voice rang out, and it was extremely moving. But sadly, that sweet voice could only be heard by Chu Feng himself. I would really have to thank the World Spirit Guild. A grateful smile appeared on the corner of Chu Feng's mouth. After he left the World Spirit Guild, the Jai clan had people hiddenly following Chu Feng. However, the World Spirit Guild also sent out experts to hiddenly protect him. Both of them were in the darkness, but they detected one another. So, after leaving the Spirit Province, the Jai clan and the World Spirit Guild did not follow him anymore. As for how Chu Feng detected it, they were from the huge benefits that Chu Feng gained after the White Cloak exam. In order to rope Chu Feng closer to them, not only did the World Spirit Guild gift quite a costly white-headed eagle to Chu Feng, they even gave him some origin beads and some things that were beneficial for spirit power. Chu Feng relied on those origin beads to successfully enter the second level of the origin realm. However, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was from the power of the spirit fruit, and in addition to the gifts from the World Spirit Guild, he raised his spirit power to an extremely powerful level, and he stepped onto an entirely new stage. The current Chu Feng could already use the power of the Grey Cloak spirit formation. His spirit power was extremely strong, and the spirit formations he laid were incomparably strong. To be more strict, Chu Feng was already a Grey Cloak world spiritist. However, because he had some things he needed to do, Chu Feng did not go for the Grey Cloak exam. But in reality, Chu Feng didn't really even need to enter the exam because he already had a World Spirit Grey Cloak on him. Due to the quick speed of the white-headed eagle, it greatly reduced the traveling time. So, after returning to the Azure Province, Chu Feng did not directly go towards the Vermilion Bird Mountain Range, but to the Void Mountain Range outside of the Vermilion Bird Mountain Range. Little White, wait for me here. On a cliff in the mountain range, Chu Feng stroked the huge white-headed eagle a few times before heading towards the middle of the mountain range. As for Little White, it was the name that he gave the white-headed eagle. Chu Feng's target was a second-rate school in the Void Mountain Range. That school was called the Void School. Although its strength wasn't as strong as the Azure Dragon School, and it was only mediocre within second-rate schools, after all, it was still a second-rate school. As for why Chu Feng went to that place, he just wanted to use some people. So not only did he borrow Egge's power, he also put the gray-colored cloak on to increase his negotiation power. Within the main hall of the Void School, the head of the Void School was currently chatting with two manager elders. The leader was a middle-aged big man. Although he was not even 50 years old, his head was already filled with white hair, and he had the cultivation of the third level of the profound realm. Although the two manager elders weren't as strong as the head of the Void School in terms of cultivation, they were still experts of the profound realm. However, suddenly, the tightly closed big door was abruptly opened as an elder rushed in. Lord Head, there's an esteemed guest here. That elder was full of sweat. His face was pale white, and he said with a quivering voice, "Esteemed guest." Who? Seeing that, the head of the Void School and the two elders knew that something was wrong as they quickly stood up and questioned, while their heads were full of fog. "It's me." An aged voice rang out, and Chu Feng already entered the main hall without even making any noise. After that, he waved his big sleeve, and the door was blown by a gust of wind and it was closed. At the same time, a layer of gray-colored spirit formation surrounded the main hall and condensed. It locked everyone who was there within it. Gray Cloak World Spiritist. After looking at the gray cloak on Chu Feng's body and the methods that he displayed, the Void School head and the two manager elders yelled out in surprise at the same time. It was because the status of Gray Cloak World Spiritists were too noble. After all, within the entire Azure province, there were only two Gray Cloak World Spiritists. One was in the #1 school, the Lingyun School, and the other one was in the Qilin Prince's mansion. The statuses of both of them were extremely high, and they were extremely well-known, huge characters. In front of them, since a Gray Cloak World Spiritist like that appeared, immediately, it made people think of the two characters. So naturally, everyone who was there would be incomparably shocked, and their nervous hearts were banging and jumping all over the place. "Senior, I wonder what your esteemed name is, and what matters do you have to honor your presence in my Void School?" The head of the Void School respectfully asked after organizing his emotions. "I have no name nor surname, but you can call me as Mr. Gray Cloak. I do have a request by coming here today." Chu Feng walked over to the throne of the Void School's head and sat there, as if he was the master of that area. "Mr. Gray Cloak." The head of the Void School was shocked once again because he never heard of that name before. It could be seen that the person in front of him was neither the person in the Lingyun School nor the one from the Qilin Prince's mansion. However, he could not be sure that the person in front of his eyes was not one of the two huge characters. But no matter what, a Gray Cloak World Spiritist was not someone who his Void School could offend. So the head of the Void School lightly smiled and said, "I wonder what request Mr. Gray Cloak has. As long as my Void School can do it, I will not shrink away from it. 3 days later, I want you to lead the elites of the Void School and go towards the Vermilion Bird City to help me marry a lady." "Lady? Who?" "The little daughter of the Vermilion Bird City's Lord Sumei." "Sumei? Isn't that the person who the son of the Shangyuan family, xianxia, will marry in 3 days?" After hearing those words, the few people who were there were incomparably astonished and difficult expressions appeared on their faces. The Shangyuan family was not to be underestimated. In terms of strength, they were even stronger than his Void School, telling them to help him marry the future wife of Shangyuan. Ye of the Shangyuan family was undoubtedly telling them to become the enemy of the Shangyuan family, and it would cause a calamity for the Void School. However, their Void School could also not offend a Gray Cloak World Spiritist. After all, even a first-rate school had to respectfully treat a huge character like that, not to mention a mere second-rate school. "Don't worry, I won't let you go ahead with your real identities, since that is equal to making a huge enemy. You can disguise yourselves as not the Void School, but as the subordinates of me, Mr. Gray Cloak. Also, I won't make you do all this for nothing. As long as you are willing to go ahead and propose this marriage, no matter if it succeeds or doesn't, I will lay a huge spirit formation array in the core zone of your Void School as compensation." Chu Feng indifferently said. After speaking those words, the head of the Void School and the two manager elders all lit up their eyes, and insane happiness appeared on their faces. A spirit formation, personally laid by a Gray Cloak World Spiritist. That degree of attraction was too great because, after all, that was something that many first-rate schools did not even have. 3 days later, within the Vermilion Bird City, everyone was extremely happy, and all the noble clans, high-ranking officials, and famous people outside returned to the Vermilion Bird City. Today was a day of great joy as the future master of the Shangyuan family, xianxia, was going to marry Su Mei, who was the young daughter of the Lord of the Vermilion Bird City, Su Hen. However, as firecrackers boomed outside and gongs and drums rang to the heavens, within a room in the city lord's residence, the atmosphere was clearly abnormally gloomy. Today, Su Mei wore a red-colored long dress. That dress was extremely beautiful, and Su Mei's sweet and beautiful face was emphasized to the extreme. Her beauty could truly devastate counties and cities. However, even though the female servant who was next to her put makeup on, dressed, and combed her, even though laughter reached the skies outside, there was not a single trace of happiness on Su Mei's face. In contrary, two streams of tears were flowing down her sweet face. That made the servant panic, as she kept on wiping away the tears for Su Mei. She wanted to fix the makeup, but it was useless as the tears surged more and more, until the makeup on her face was thoroughly ruined. Bang move. Suddenly, a boom came from the entrance and the sturdy big door was shattered into pieces. Two of the guards for the city lord's residence fell into the room and lost consciousness. That change caused the female servants to screech. However, when two figures walked in, the servants were dumbfounded where they stood. A male and a female walked in. The female wore a white dress, and she was extremely pretty. She had a bewitching figure, charming face, and she could simply hook onto one's soul. It would cause other females to be lost within the beauty, and she was Su Mei's elder sister, Su Ro. A tall, big, and a well-built male stood next to Su Ro. The male had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and dark skin. He was none other than the elder brother of Su Ro and Su Mei, Su Hen's oldest son, Su Long. Su Long was 25 years old this year, and he already established himself quite well. He had the cultivation of the second level of the profound realm, and as the eldest son of the Su family, he was usually outside, helping the Su family set up relationships, so he rarely returned to the Vermilion Bird City. However, when Su Long got news that his own little sister was going to be married to xianxia, and it was even a forced marriage, he hurried back. "Brother, sister, why are you two here?" When she saw the two people, Su Mei panicked a bit as she quickly wiped the tears on her face away. "Little sister, follow me. Let's go." Su Long looked at Su Mei, who had tears all over her face, and without saying any more, he grabbed onto Su Mei's little hand and walked out. Su Ro followed him without saying anything. "Brother, sister, what are you doing? Let me go." Su Mei tried her best to struggle, but she could not do anything. In front of her elder brother, her cultivation of the spirit realm was absolutely nothing. "Idiot sister, you don't even like that xianxia, so how can you marry him? As your elder brother, I will not just stare as you jump towards living hell." As Su Long spoke, he already dragged Su Mei out of the palace. However, when he arrived at the entrance, he couldn't help but be taken aback, and he stopped his steps forward. Dozens of people showed in front of him. All of them were the peak experts of the Vermilion Bird City, and the one who led was the city lord of the Vermilion Bird City, the father of the three siblings, Su Hen. "What are you doing?" Su Hen's sword-like brows slanted inwards as he coldly interrogated. "Father, I will bring little Mei away. I will not let her marry that xianxia bastard," Su Long loudly said. Bam! Immediately after he finished speaking, a clear and loud slap landed on Su Long's face. The strong power forcibly slapped the well-built male, who was at the second level of the profound realm, down to the ground. A blood-red palm mark appeared on his face. The person who did that was his father, Su Hen. "Get out of here." Su Hen pointed at Su Long and loudly reprimanded. "Father, are you truly only going to watch as little Mei marries a person she doesn't like?" Just at that time, Su Ro came out. She walked next to Su Mei and said while pointing at her face, Look well. Look at the tears on your daughter's face. Can you not see her unwillingness? Can you not see her bitterness? You, as a father, truly want to personally cut off your daughter's happiness and let her wash her face with tears in the future." Su Ro's tone was extremely sharp, and everyone who was there felt the sorrow. Even Su Hen's eyes glittered, and he could not say anything at that moment. After a good while, he waved his hand towards the crowd behind him. Those people were Su Hen's trusted aides, and all of them instantly understood Su Hen's meaning. They tactfully left, and after they left, only 4 people remained there: Su Hen, Su Long, Su Ro, and Su Mei. Su Hen first sighed, then completely changed his furious attitude from before and gently said, "Longer, little Mei. I truly have no say on this matter." The Xiangyuan family gained high approval from the Qilin prince's mansion, and they have the qualifications to fight over the ruling right of the Vermilion Bird City. Shang Yuanyu also had a breakthrough, and he entered the 6th level of the Profound Realm recently. His cultivation already surpassed me, and he is now the strongest person in the Vermilion Bird City. If he wants to fight over the ruling right of the Vermilion Bird City, the position of the City Lord can only belong to him and no one else. Even the City Lord's mansion will need to be given to him. The results of so many hard years would be for naught. However, Shang Yuanyu said to me that he has become aged, and he doesn't care about the Vermilion Bird City's ruling right. Currently, he only wants his 2 grandsons to get settled. So, as long as little Mei marries Shang Yuanya and they quickly finish the marriage, his Shang Yuan family will never fight over the ruling right of the Vermilion Bird City. Father, how can you be so foolish? Shang Yuanyu is an old cunning fox. How can you believe his words? Su Rou refuted. Yeah, father, he is clearly threatening you to give little Mei over to Shang Yuanya. However, when little Mei marries over, perhaps he will instantly regret it and fight over the Vermilion Bird City's ruling right. Su Long also went up and said, "What do any of you understand? Even if Shang Yuanyu regrets it, as long as little Mei is married over, the Shang Yuan family will not make things too difficult for my Su family. As long as my Su family has a certain foundation, there will be a date of revolution. Sooner or later, I will enter the 6th level of the Profound Realm. At that time, I can retake everything." Su Hen's face became serious. Father, are you saying that the so-called foundation of the Su family is even more important than little Mei's happiness? In order to protect the family's foundation, you are willing to give little Mei up as a bargaining chip. You are personally digging a grave for your own daughter's happiness. Even Su Rou's eyes became moist. That's right. To me, the Su family's foundation is more important. Su Hen replied, "Since it has come to this, there is no need to speak anymore. Today I will bring little Mei away." Su Rou grabbed onto Su Mei, leaped, displayed a profound bodily technique and escaped afar. Father, for little Mei's joy, I must defend. At the same time, Su Long also displayed a strong martial skill and attacked his own father. He wanted to stall some time for Su Rou and Su Mei to cover their escape. I know that you siblings have deep affection for one another, but the final situation must be always emphasized. Sooner or later, you will understand my painstaking efforts. To Su Hen, the methods of the 2 of them were insect-like insignificant skills. Without even moving, he released the pressure of the 5th level of the Profound Realm and completely dissolved Su Long's attack. After that, the strong pressure instantly engulfed everyone in that area. The strong pressure bound Su Rou down, and not to mention continuing to escape. It was even hard for her to walk a single step as she powerlessly fell to the ground. Father, let my brother and sister go. I promise you, I'll marry Shang Yuanya. I'll marry him. Su Mei begged as she looked at Su Long and Su Rou, who had painful faces. Sigh. Little Mei, I am sorry. Su Hen also had a painful expression, and it could be seen that his heart was not well either. However, he did not immediately let Su Long and Su Rou go. He used special methods to temporarily seal Su Long's and Su Rou's strength. They couldn't even speak. Quickly after that matter, the Shang Yuan family's bride escort arrived in front of the city lord's residence. Shang Yuan rode a tall and big horse while wearing bridegroom clothes. His smile could not be hidden, because he could finally marry the person who he yearned for even within his dreams. The most important thing was that the current Shang Yuan Tian was also wearing a set of bridegroom clothes. He had a prideful look all over his face, and his pleased smile was not a single bit inferior to Shang Yuanya's. What is happening? Why are there 2 bridegrooms? Are the brothers both going to marry Su Mei? While facing that strange scene, everyone started their discussions and all of them felt puzzled. Shang Yuan Tian, Shang Yuanya, what is the meaning of this? Su Hen led the experts from the city lord's residence out. He was also quite displeased while facing the Shang Yuan family's actions. My lord, what other reason can us 2 brothers come here for? Naturally, it is to marry your daughters. Shang Yuanya chuckled, but as he spoke, he did not even come down the horse. He said those words to Su Hen with an attitude of looking down at him. Rubbish. Xianxia is marrying my family's lady because it was prearranged. How about you? You did not even come up to propose, yet you directly come here to marry. You are simply marrying by force. One of the old man from the city lord's residence pointed at Xiangyuan Tian and angrily rebuked. Insolent. I'm talking to the city lord and you have no part in this. Xiangyuan Tian was furious while facing the rebuke of the old man. He raised the whip in his hand and thrashed over. HMPH. Someone merely at the first level of the profound realm should not even dare to act so wildly in front of me. The old man was not afraid in the slightest when facing the whip that had profound power and was like a dragon. He raised his hand and grabbed. Then the whip was tightly grasped within his hand. It turned out that the old man was a person at the second level of the profound realm. You disrespectful little brat, get down here. The old man was enraged and he wanted to pull Xiangyuan Tian down from the horse. Bam, but before he even got to attack, a powerful big hand grabbed his wrist. Strong power instantly restricted the old man's aura and sealed his actions that he was going to do. My lord. The old man looked to the side and he couldn't help but stare blankly because the person who stopped him was his own master, Su Hen. Su Hen first shook his head towards the old man, indicating that he should not act rashly. Then he took a deep breath and spoke to his subordinates behind him. Go, bring the second lady and the third lady out. Today, my Su family will have a double marriage with the Xiangyuan family. TN. Second lady is Su Ro as she was born second. Eldest brother is Su Long. And third is Su Mei as she was born third. Who, when Su Hen said those words, instantly, the crowd went into an uproar and everyone was endlessly shocked. If the marriage between Xiangyuan and Su Mei was completely expected and was normal, then the marriage between Xiangyuan Tian and Su Ro was reasonless trouble. It was something that even normal families would not allow, let alone the city lord's family, the ruler of the Vermilion Bird City. However, at that moment, not only did Su Hen not act wildly, he even agreed. That made people quite speechless. The formerly tyrannical and mighty city lord chose to lower his head to the two young men. That made people feel that it was inconceivable and not understandable even after thinking about it 100 times. What is happening? The city lord accepted such impolite demands from the Xiangyuan family. Some people who did not know the entire truth questioned. You probably don't know. I heard that the master of the Xiangyuan family, Xiangyuan Yu, is at the 6th level of the profound realm, but the city lord is only at the 5th level of the profound realm. Although the Su family is still the ruler of the Vermilion Bird City, in reality, their strength is inferior to the Xiangyuan family. I also believe that the marriage advancement for Xiangyuan and Su Mei is because of Xiangyuan Yu. Someone secretly leaked the information out. Is that true? After hearing that, everyone's expressions changed greatly, and they were unceasingly stunned. It meant that the true ruler of the Vermilion Bird City was not the Su family, but the Xiangyuan family. That was huge news to the people in the Vermilion Bird City. Although people still felt that the matter was unimaginable, when Su Ro and Su Mei, the daughters of the city lord, wore gorgeous bride gowns and walked out of the residence, everyone knew that the current situation in the Vermilion Bird City truly did change. This is bad, city lord, this is bad. But just at that time, a panicked cry came from nearby. That panicked cry instantly shattered the happy atmosphere, and everyone cast their gazes over. They saw a guard from the city lord's residence madly running over to the residence. However, there were wounds everywhere on his body and blood was all over the place. What's going on? What happened? In response, Su Hen and the others quickly went over. City lord, there's an enemy invading. After that person spoke, he lost consciousness. What? Enemy invading? After hearing those words, Su Hen was thoroughly confused and he couldn't help but cast his gaze over to Xiangyuan and Xiangyuan Tian. However, he discovered that they did not know what was happening as well. That confused Su Hen. In reality, to his Su family, the biggest enemy was the Shangyuan family. But currently, if the Shangyuan family was not attacking, which person dared to invade his Vermilion Bird City? Asterisk thud 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 asterisk clang 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 asterisk thud clang thud. Asterisk just at that time, from the direction that the guard escaped from, the noise of gongs and drums rang out. Everyone couldn't help but inhale a breath of cool air, and at the same time that they were completely baffled, ineffable fear filled their hearts, because the beats of the gongs and drums were clearly from a bride's escort. As the gongs and drums for the happy event sounded out, a group of people majestically appeared. Some beat gongs, some hit drums, some blew trumpets, some raised signs, and on those signs, two big words were clearly written on it: Bride's Escort. The clothing of the group of people also seemed to induce joy. From the surface, they did appear like a group of people for a bride's escort, but that was also the area that made people confused. They could not think where the escort came from, and who was going to marry who. The most important thing was that even though the people dressed up in quite a happy manner, there was still a strange part. A mask was on the faces of every single person, and their appearances could not be seen. Halt! Who are you? The guards from the city lord's residence rushed out and blocked them outside of the residence as they cautiously stared at them. On the orders of Mr. Greycloak, we are here to escort the daughter of the city lord, Lady Sume. The person who was at the front yelled his throat out. What escort Sume? Isn't Sume Shangyunya's fiancé? Why are they here to escort Sume? Also, who is Mr. Greycloak? On the day that the Shangyun family is coming to welcome the bride, this Mr. Greycloak comes here to escort the future wife of Shangyunya. He is simply slapping Shangyun family's face in front of everyone here. Endless cries of surprise rang out from the crowd, and everyone was stunned by the sentence from that person. Even the people from the city lord's residence were baffled and their heads were full of fog. However, they were sure of one thing. It was that the group of people were obviously there to cause chaos. However, they did not know whether it was towards the Shangyun family or towards the city lord's residence. Damn, you dare to come up to my Shangyun family and stir up trouble. You have really gotten sick of living. People, apprehend this group of people. Shangyun Tian was furious. Before even letting the city lord's residence respond to it, he ordered his subordinates to rush towards the group of people. However, he only ordered them to apprehend them, but not to kill them. As for why? Naturally, since today was a day of great joy, blood could not be seen, or else that was bad luck. However, before even letting the Shangyun family's group go near, the one who led waved his big sleeve and strong origin power descended from the sky. It formed into invisible blades, and they killed dozens of Shangyuan family members who were rushing over. The killing method was extremely cruel as well. Not only did they behead the Shangyuan family, the blades even chopped off their hands and feet. The death was quite wretched and blood splattered everywhere. That scene stunned everyone and they were extremely stupefied. The surrounding people couldn't help but back away, and cold sweat appeared on their foreheads. Just now, all of them could feel that within the group of people, there was an expert of the profound realm, and it was an expert who was in the third level of the profound realm. Also, from their heartless methods, they could confirm that the group of people did not come with good intentions. Those who dare to meddle with Mr. Greycloak's affairs will be killed without discussion, the person who just attacked indifferently said. At the same time, several hundred people behind him all put down the items in their hands and emanated their strong aura. There were 3 experts in the profound realm, and other than the 3 people, the remaining several hundred people were all at the peak of the origin realm. Heavens, where did they come from? They have such strength. The strong aura was like an invisible hurricane as it spiraled everywhere. Everyone who was there could feel the pressure. The Shangyuan family and the people from the city lord's residence were fine, however. The faces of the observing officials and nobles were quite ugly. It was because the opponent had extremely strong strength. It was simply equivalent to the elites of a second-rate school. so no wonder they dared to go against the Shangyuan family. They did have quite some strength. Killing without discussion. Let's see what kind of person this Mr. Grey Cloak is. Suddenly, an aged voice rang out, and following that, a gust of wind swept past. A single-eyed old man appeared in front of Shangyuan Tian and Shangyuan Ye. It's Shangyuan Yu, the master of the Shangyuan family. According to rumors, he already entered the 6th level of the Profound Realm and became the strongest person in the Vermilion Bird City. I wonder if that is true or false. After that old man appeared, many people who were on scene couldn't help but yell in surprise. Even Shangyuan Tian and Shangyuan Ye quickly leaped down from their high horses, went in front of the single-eyed old man and respectfully paid their respects. "Grandfather, you two retreat. I myself will be sufficient to kill this group of rats." Shangyuan Yu waved his hand, then his sword-like brows slanted inwards. Glare shot out from his single eye, and the atmosphere around him became completely different. Without any wind, his robe madly fluttered, and the strong pressure was like a tide as it surged out from his body. It became a formless huge wave that rose to the sky as it slammed against the group of people, one wave after the other. Heavens, he is really at the 6th level of the Profound Realm. He actually entered the 6th level of the Profound Realm. That strong aura caused the faces of everyone who were there to change, especially the people from the city lord's residence. They were hugely shocked, and their faces became extremely unsightly. It meant that Shangyuan Yu's cultivation surpassed their family's Su Hen, and their city lord's residence truly lost to the Shangyuan family. In reality, while facing the strong pressure, even the head of the Void School panicked. He never would have thought that Shangyuan Yu entered the 6th level of the Profound Realm. The Profound Realm, every single level was like a chasm, and normal people could not cross over it. So when he, who was only at the 3rd level of the Profound Realm, faced the pressure of the 6th level of the Profound Realm, it was like facing an unstoppable huge wave. No place to escape, no way to resist, and only death awaited them. At that instant, everyone from the Void School couldn't avoid having a bit of regret, and they started to back away. Even though they would gain great benefits if they succeeded, they did not want to lose their lives because of that. HMPH. Indeed, a group of rats. As he looked at the cowardly group of people, Shangyuan Yu stuck his chest out and raised his head and coldly snorted. Although he was displeased on the surface, he was crazily happy in his heart. No matter who that group of people were, they gave him a chance to display his strength and to establish his might. He knew, from that day forth, the people in the Vermilion Bird City would not fear Su Hen the most anymore. They would fear him, Shangyuan Yu, the most. The right to rule the Vermilion Bird City was fated to land within the hands of his Shangyuan family. Puny skills. However, just as everyone thought that the group of people were going to die without a doubt, within the sedan chair, an aged voice suddenly sounded out. At the same time that the voice rang out, everyone could clearly see in front of the group of people, gray-colored gas appeared. That gas was quickly condensing, and within a blink, it formed into a screen. Asterisk boom tilde 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 asterisk. The pressure of the 6th level of the Profound Realm came crashing down as the earth trembled. Many people found it hard to endure the ear-piercing boom. But when the ripples dissipated and the pressure faded away, everyone shocking found out that the group of people were not harmed in the slightest. The reason why they were not harmed in the slightest was because of the huge screen in front of them. The screen was gray-colored yet as transparent as crystals. That's a spirit formation. It's a spirit formation. Suddenly, someone with sharp eyes recognized the origin of the screen. What a strong spirit formation, as it's able to hold the might of the 6th level of the Profound Realm away. How strong would the world spiritist who laid that spirit formation be? As they looked at the unbreakable spirit formation, everyone endlessly cried out their guesses. A mere Shangyuan family dares to attack my people. You must have gotten tired of life. Just at that time, the curtains of the sedan chair was suddenly lifted, and a body slowly walked out. When people saw the clothing of that person, they were instantly stupefied, and the faces of some people were even pale white from fear. The gray-colored cloak was full of symbols, As it was being shone by the sunlight, it even faintly glittered. Perhaps commoners could not recognize such a special clothing, but those who were there knew what that represented. Gray Cloak World Spiritist. Finally, someone impulsively yelled out. After he spoke, it was like a bomb, and it caused everyone in that area to no longer remain calm. Almost everyone there couldn't help but inhale a breath of cool air, and both respect and fear emerged onto their faces. Gray Cloak World Spiritist. What did that represent? It represented the huge characters who had the highest positions in the Azure province. Because there was only 2 people like that in the Azure province. Those 2 people were from the 2 strongest powers in the Azure province. In front of them, such a Gray Cloak World Spiritist appeared that made people's imagination roam free, as they first thought that it was one of the 2 huge characters. But after some more careful thinking, they felt that something was off. After all, those 2 people were extremely well known, and if any one of them fancied one of the 2 daughters, they would absolutely not come there with a fake name. They would clearly state their famous name for greater deterrence power. However, if the person in front of them wasn't one of the 2 huge characters from the Azure province, it meant that a 3rd Gray Cloak World Spiritist appeared in the Azure province. That was certainly shocking news. Mister, I wonder who you are. Do we have any misunderstandings between us? After seeing Chu Feng, who wore the World Spirit Gray Cloak, walk out, even Xianxia and Yuya, who had tough might before, instantly shrunk down slightly. Even a first-rate school needed to provide offerings to a Gray Cloak World Spiritist, so he was truly not someone who his Xianxia family could offend. There aren't any misunderstandings. Firstly, I came here today to marry the daughter of the city lord, Su Mei. Secondly, since I'm here, I might as well exterminate your Xianxia family. Chu Feng nonchalantly smiled, and after saying those words with an aged voice, he waved his big sleeve and said, "Attack! Kill!" Immediately after Chu Feng spoke, the elites of the Void School, under the lead of the head of the school, rushed towards the direction of the Xianxia family residences. On the road, any Xianxia family members were killed without discussion. As they saw that, the powerful people from the Xianxia family knew that something was off, and they quickly tried to chase after the group of people. At that very instant, all the able people from the Xianxia family were sent to the city lord's residence, so only the old, weak, sick, crippled, and those without strength to even tie up a chicken were within the Xianxia family residences. If the group of people slaughtered their way into the residences, the Xianxia family was certainly going to be exterminated. No rush. Today, everyone from the Xianxia family will die. Chu Feng stamped where he stood, and as he spoke those words, a huge spirit formation appeared and sealed the direction that the Void School headed towards. It stopped all the Xianxia family members who wanted to chase. At the same time, Chu Feng raised his hand and palmed towards the Xianxia family crowd. With a huge boom, almost half of the near 1,000 Xianxia family elites were injured or killed. There were even 2 people at the profound realm within that group of people. This person is extremely strong. Su Hin tightly frowned as he saw that. Although the Gray Cloak World Spiritist only displayed the cultivation of the 1st level of the profound realm, just from that palm, he could feel if he fought with him, he would not be able to defeat the Gray Cloak World Spiritist. Asterisk boom 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 asterisk. From then on, Chu Feng threw out several palms, and he didn't even use martial skills. He only used his profound power, but every single palm could exhibit frightening power. It killed countless Xianxia family members. You truly go too far. I don't care who you are. Today, I will not forgive you. As he saw the people from his own family being slaughtered like that, Xianxia Yu was incomparably furious. He revolved the profound power of the 6th level of the profound realm and pounced towards Chu Feng. Xianxia Yu was truly furious. At that instant, he did not have a single trace of fear. He only thought about killing Chu Feng, because he knew that if Chu Feng was killed, his Xianxia family still had a strand of hope to survive. However, if he could not find a way to kill Chu Feng, his Xianxia family would perish. So under those circumstances, Shang Yuanyu's attacks were abnormally fierce. Every single punch or kick would have profound power along with them, and every single strike and style could create devastating attacks. The martial skills that he grasped were also extremely strong. Chu Feng did not want to expose his identity, so he could not use martial skills. He could only use profound power and spirit formation techniques against Shang Yuanyu. But luckily, Chu Feng's spirit formation techniques already entered the Grey Cloak realm. No matter how much fiercer Shang Yuanyu's attacks were, he had no way of harming Chu Feng. Rather, they were all stopped by Chu Feng. Impressive, too impressive. Is this the power of world spiritists, Grey Cloak world spiritists, as expected from huge characters that can shake the entire Azure province? This battle power is too terrifying. You're right. Clearly, the aura that he is displaying is only the first level of the profound realm. Without even using martial skills, and by only relying on the power of spirit formations, he can play around Shang Yuanyu, who is at the 6th level of profound within his palms. This cannot be said to not be strong. As they looked at the battle between the two, anyone who could see could tell who was strong and who was weak. They were shocked by Chu Feng's strength. Of course, they did not know that he was the young genius Chu Feng, who shook the entire Vermilion Bird City with his name before. In their eyes, he was a true huge character, a Grey Cloak world spiritist who had been cultivating for many years. Old thing, the cultivation of the 6th level of the profound realm is truly wasted on you. At the same time that Chu Feng was blocking Shang Yuanyu's strikes, he would occasionally attack the other Shang Yuan family members. Every time he attacked, he would prevail. With a blink, almost 1,000 Shang Yuan family elites died under Chu Feng's hands. At the same time, from the direction of the Shang Yuan family, miserable cries rang out endlessly. The Shang Yuan family were currently being slaughtered, no matter if it was a male, female, old or young, chicken, dog, duck or goose. Anything that breathed would be killed. Even little mice that accidentally passed by the Shang Yuan family residences were grabbed by the Void School and strangled to death. It wasn't that the Void School were cruel and merciless. It was because they received the death order. Chu Feng's order was to not leave a single life alive within the Shang Yuan family residences. Su Hen, what the hell are you looking at? Why aren't you helping me to take care of this guy? He looked at his own family being killed one by one and fall one by one, yet he could not do anything about it. Shang Yuanyu was going a bit mad, and since he was helpless against it, he could only cast his pleading gaze towards Su Hen and the others from the city lord's residence. Why would Su Hen help? Not to mention that he really wanted the Shang Yuan family to be exterminated. Even if he and the Shang Yuan family were allies, he would still not help out in that situation, because he did not want to offend a Grey Cloak world spiritist. Su Hen, I'm begging you, help my Shang Yuan family and don't let my Shang Yuan family be cut off here. Seeing that Su Hen was not moved, Shang Yuanyu could only lower his attitude and speak with a pleading tone. However, it was in vain as Su Hen was still not moved. Su Hen, I will make you regret this for your entire life. Finally, Shang Yuanyu gave up on begging. After an explosive yell, he used an extremely strong attack towards Chu Feng. Strong, profound power formed into a huge wave that reached the skies, and the surging splashes were dozens of feet tall. They layered onto each other and pressed down. The power that it contained was enough to flatten a forest, and it could be seen that Shang Yuanyu attacked for real. Old thing, you've finally gotten serious, huh? As he saw that, Chu Feng did not dare to underestimate it. He quickly spun his spirit power around and he kept on laying gray-colored spirit formations in front of him to block Shang Yuanyu's attack that contained his full power. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, however, when the huge wave collided with the spirit formation, Shang Yuanyu flashed, arrived next to Shang Yuantian and Shang Yuanya, waved his big sleeve, and 2 layers of profound power surged out. The powerful profound power split into 2. The first rolled Shang Yuantian and Shang Yuanya up, but the other rolled Su Ro and Su Mei up. Like a firm cage, it locked them within it. Crap, he wants to escape. Chu Feng suddenly understood what he had planned. It turned out that Shang Yuanyu did not want to throw everything he had on Chu Feng, but he wanted to escape. Asterisk whoosh asterisk as predicted, with special methods, after binding Shang Yuantian and Shang Yuanya, and also Su Rou and Su Mei, the tip of Shang Yuanyu's foot suddenly tapped, and a gust of gale started to spread. After the gale disappeared, Shang Yuanyu also disappeared. At the same time, Shang Yuanya, Shang Yuantian, and also Su Rou and Su Mei disappeared. Damn it! As he saw that, Su Hen's face changed greatly because Shang Yuanyu did not escape by himself. Not only did he take away his 2 grandsons, he even captured Su Hen's 2 daughters. Thinking back that he only stood on the side as he watched and ignored the life and death of the Shang Yuan family, Shang Yuanyu must have hated him down to the bones. At that moment, both of his daughters landed into his hands, so how they would end was unimaginable. As he thought to that point, Su Hen completely panicked. He spread his aura of the 5th level of the profound realm out and wanted to chase after Shang Yuanyu. However, before he even got the chance to move, a powerful palm landed on his shoulder and suppressed his aura. Turning his head to look, Su Hen instantly took in a breath of cool air, because the person who stopped him was none other than the mysterious Grey Cloak World Spiritist. Stay right here. I will settle the debts with you later. After speaking those words, Chu Feng leaped forward and disappeared. After Chu Feng left, Su Hen's face was pale white from fear because he could hear, from Chu Feng's words, that the huge character seemed to be displeased with him. However, he could not understand when he offended such a huge character like him. But no matter what, he knew that most likely he had attracted some troubles, especially after he swept his gaze behind him and saw the corpses of the Shangyuan family's elites who laid within Pool's blood. The fear in his heart rose to the extreme. He truly experienced what cruel and merciless was called. That person was too scary. At the same time, within the Vermilion Bird Mountain Range, Shang Yuanyu was currently running in the forest. His speed was strangely quick, and even though he was using his profound power to bind 4 people over his head, it did not affect his speed at all. Shang Yuanyu put us down. My sister can't take this anymore. Within the profound power cage, Su Rou was currently tightly hugging Su Mei. Perhaps it was because the road was too jolty, or maybe because Shang Yuanyu's pressure before was too fierce. Su Mei's current complexion was ghastly white, and her lips were dry. She had already lost consciousness. Shut up. If you speak any more rubbish, I'll kill both of you right now. Shang Yuanyu was burning up in the flames of fury. He did not even have enough time to escape for his life. So how could he care about Su Rou and Su Mei's life? The reason why he grabbed the 2 of them as well was because he wanted to have a bargaining chip that could possibly protect his life. Asterisk him asterisk, but suddenly, a strong spirit formation was laid in front of them, and at the same time, several spirit formations also appeared everywhere, and they were currently surrounding Shang Yuanyu. How is this possible? He caught up so quickly. Seeing that, Shang Yuanyu was aware that the situation was not good, and he quickly extended his hands towards Su Rou and Su Mei who were bound by him, and he wanted to use the 2 girls for coercion. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, however, when a ray of light flashed past, the profound power that restricted the 2 was broken. Not only did Su Rou and Su Mei disappear, even his 2 grandsons, Shang Yuantian and Shang Yuan, yet escaped from his controlling range. Grandfather, save me. Suddenly, a miserable voice rang out. After looking over, Shang Yuanyu couldn't help but be greatly shocked. Both of his grandsons laid nearby, and behind them stood a single person. It was the Grey Cloak World Spiritist. No need to beg for help. In this place no one can save you. All of you will die. Chu Feng calmly smiled, then suddenly raised his foot. With a bang, Shang Yuanya's head became watery blood under his foot. Like a watermelon, his head was stepped and shattered in pieces by Chu Feng. You bastard, I will kill you. Seeing that his own grandson died just like that, Shang Yuanyu instantly grasped onto insanity. As he madly howled, he started attacking fiercely at Chu Feng. HMPH. However, Chu Feng only coldly snorted while facing Shang Yuanyu's attacks. He pointed at him and flicked his finger. A faint white-colored gas streaked through the air. Not only did it pierce through Shang Yuanyu's martial skill, it also pierced through Shang Yuanyu's body. With a single strike, it made the powerful person who was at the 6th level of the profound realm throw up blood and forced him to powerlessly lay on the ground. How is this possible? How is this possible? Shang Yuanyu's face was like ash. Originally, he felt that he might have had a few chances for victory if he used everything he had. But when the white-colored gas went through his body, only then did he realize how great the difference between him and his opponent was. From the start, he was fated to lose. You're next. After defeating Shang Yuanyu with the white tiger slaughtering technique, Chu Feng did not directly attack Shang Yuanyu anymore. He cast his gaze towards Shang Yuantian. He cast his gaze towards the male who once forced him to a point where there were no roads up to the sky, nor any doors down to the earth. However, there was quite a dramatic change when the situation today was compared to the situation which happened that day. Who are you? My Shangyuan family has no grievances nor hatred towards you. Why do you need to completely wipe out my Shangyuan family? Shang Yuantian loudly howled. He was bitter that he would die just like that. So, he really wanted to know who exterminated his entire Shangyuan family. In reality, not only Shang Yuantian, even Su Rou, who was nearby, tightly stared at Chu Feng because she was also curious what kind of person the Grey Cloak World Spiritist who exterminated the Shangyuan family was. Heh! After hearing those words, a mocking laugh came from the Grey Cloak. However, when the laughter rang out, no matter if it was Shang Yuantian or Su Rou, both of their expressions changed greatly, because that laughter was no longer the voice of an aged, old man. Rather, it was the voice of a young man. The most important thing was that the voice was quite familiar. This voice, can it be? Su Rou instantly reacted to that because she could not get any more familiar with that voice. However, after thinking for a bit more, she felt that it wasn't possible. Even if that person had more talent, it would not be possible for him to have so much growth in such a short period of time. As for Shang Yuanyu and Shang Yuantian, they were stupefied as well. Although they could not confirm who the person in the gray cloak was, from his laughter just now, they could tell that it was a voice of a young man. Yet, how could such a powerful person be only a young man? Today, I will let you understand your deaths. Under their gazes of intertwined shock and curiosity, Chu Feng extended both his hands and gradually took the hood off his head. His handsome countenance appeared in front of the three people. Chu Feng, it really is you. At that instant, Su Rou couldn't help but yell out in surprise, and her pair of beautiful eyes kept on glittering. She never would have thought that the person who defeated Shang Yuanyu and could use Grey Cloak spirit formations was truly Chu Feng. The truth came too abruptly, and she felt that it was a bit difficult to believe. How is this possible? Didn't you already? However, compared to Su Rou's difficulty in believing, Shang Yuantian's face was already filled with fear, because he clearly remembered that Chu Feng was forced into the Dragon River by him, so he should have already been dead. How was it possible that he appeared here? He even became so strong in such a short amount of time. As he looked at Shang Yuantian's and Shang Yuanyu's shocked expressions, Chu Feng only indifferently smiled and said to Shang Yuantian, "Do you remember the words that I told you that day on the suicide cliff? I told you that you should pray that I would die just like that, or else I would undoubtedly come back to find you. On that day, it wouldn't be the end of you, Shang Yuantian. It would be the end of your Shang Yuan family." After hearing Chu Feng's words, Shang Yuantian's face was already like ash. He finally knew why he had a bad premonition in the instant that Chu Feng jumped from the cliff. "Friend, do we have any misunderstandings between us?" Shang Yuanyu feebly said when he saw that Chu Feng was going to attack Shang Yuantian. "Misunderstandings. Originally, I had no grievances nor hatred towards your Shang Yuan family. However, you had to kill me no matter what. Everything today were debts that your Shang Yuan family owed me. However, I, Chu Feng, just collected them with higher interest." After speaking, Chu Feng raised his hand and palmed. Shang Yuantian became a pool of blood, and quickly after, Chu Feng flicked towards Shangyuan Yu. The white tiger slaughtering technique, which had peerless attacking power, tore through the air and howled before taking away Shangyuan Yu's life. After killing the people from the Shangyuan family, Chu Feng quickly went over to Su Rou. When he looked at Su Mei, who had a ghastly white face and weak aura, a hint of worry emerged onto his calm face. However, after using his spirit power to examine her, Chu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Although Su Mei was injured, it was not serious. She would quickly heal after 10 days of rest. But even so, Chu Feng still carried Su Mei away from Su Rou's embrace. He took out some healing medicine and caringly fed them to Su Mei by helping her refine them. "Shouldn't you give me an explanation?" Finally, Su Rou, who remained silent for a long while, spoke. Chu Feng raised his head, and he discovered that the grand beauty, who had a fox-like face, was tightly staring at himself with her pair of enchanting eyes. There even seemed to be a bit of grievance on her face. "I have a world spirit in my body, and I established a contract with her already. She can lend her power to me, and my real cultivation right now is the 2nd level of the origin realm. As for the cultivation that I displayed earlier, which was at the 1st level of the profound realm, it was the power that the world spirit lent to me." Chu Feng did not hide anything. After all, Su Rou was his first woman, and he trusted her quite a bit. "The explanation that I wanted wasn't that." Su Rou's beautiful eyes glittered, but no one knew what she was thinking. "Not that." "Oh, I know." Chu Feng was first taken slightly aback, but then after some thinking he smiled and said, "They were from the Void School. I promised them that I would lay a spirit formation for them, so they were willing to risk their lives for me." "Also not that." Su Rou's face seemed to be more and more wronged, and one could even see flickering tears within her beautiful eyes. Her clean white teeth kept on lightly biting her alluring lips. "Then, what is it?" Chu Feng was completely puzzled. "Chu Feng, you bastard." Suddenly, Su Rou's jade-like hands waved and a clear slap ferociously landed on Chu Feng's face. After being slapped, Chu Feng was still bewildered. "I knew that you were this kind of person. The words you said were all lies. On that day, you clearly said that you would marry both me and Little Mei. But now why did you only propose a marriage to Little Mei and leave me on the side?" Su Rou stood up, and as she pointed at Chu Feng, she complained about her grievances. Her charming face was already full of tears. At that instantly, only then did Chu Feng suddenly understand. After half a day, the attracting beauty was jealous. Jealous of her own sister, Su Mei. "Eggy, lend your power to me again." Chu Feng yelled in his heart. "What for?" Eggy was currently looking at the liveliness, and she was confused about Chu Feng's plans. Quickly, Chu Feng was quite anxious. In response, Eggy could only lend her power to Chu Feng. After all, Chu Feng was her master, and besides, she also wanted to know what Chu Feng wanted the borrowed power for. However, when Chu Feng did the following actions, Eggy was completely speechless. Suddenly, Chu Feng stood up and put his arms around Su Rou's waist and embraced the grand beauty. Without saying anything else, he kissed Su Rou's alluring lips. At the same time, another hand was restlessly touching Su Rou's attractive body. "Bastard, let go of me." At first, Su Rou even tried her best to struggle, but how would she even be able to do anything against Chu Feng? Gradually, she thoroughly surrendered from Chu Feng's gentle attacks. Right beside Su Mei, Chu Feng pushed Su Rou to the ground. The two of them took off their clothes, and 2 naked bodies interweaved with one another. Although at the first time it was forced, this time in reality Su Rou was willing. From Su Rou's completely red face, one could see the light of her happiness. This time she was willing in her heart, and she gave her own body to Chu Feng. But even so, Eggy still gave Chu Feng an evaluation. On that day, within a certain forest in the Vermilion Bird Mountain Range, a strange scene happened. 2 voices of a male and a female rose up and down, and they endlessly rang out. Occasionally sharp, occasionally deep, sometimes like the simultaneous cry of 100 birds, sometimes like the roar of a fierce tiger towards the skies. That lasted for a good half-day. Luckily, no one passed that place, or else their souls would be scattered away from fear, and they would no longer be able to take care of themselves. And from then on become a disabled person who had hemiplegia. Within the forest, Shangyuan Yu's, Shangyuan Tian's, and Shangyuan Ya's corpses were no longer there. As for where they went, naturally, they were dealt with by Chu Feng. Of course, their source energy was absorbed by Eggy. Chu Feng's upper body was naked and he laid on the grass. Within his embrace was Su Ro, a charming big beauty. At that instant, on Su Ro's white, soft and smooth body, there was even a red-colored bride's clothes. When the light wind brushed past, the red dress would occasionally get lifted up and barely one could see her straight and long, snow-white beautiful legs, and her round, smooth, yet firm twin peaks were extremely attracting. However, the most attracting thing was still Su Ro's lovable appearance. Perhaps only within the embrace of those who she loved could such a strong lady be so sweet. As for to what degree, she was simply like a small child, as she obediently leaned into Chu Feng's embrace. She even used her fine and long fingers to draw circles on Chu Feng's chest. Okay, it's time to get up. Or else, when little May wakes up and see us like this, I would really not know how to explain it. After a good while, Su Ro gently pushed Chu Feng away. However, a single word was written on her charming face: unwillingness. Then let's do it together. Chu Feng showed all his teeth as he smiled and said, "No, little May is still young and you cannot touch her." Seeing that, Su Ro fiercely pinched Chu Feng's arm. "Haha, just joking." Chu Feng chuckled, then got up to wear his clothes. As he wore them, he said, "For now, don't tell anyone about me being a Grey Cloak world spiritist, not even to little May." Su Ro helped Chu Feng tie up his clothes and sweetly nodded her head. "Also, I will marry you too, sister, but it will not be too soon. From how I, Chu Feng, do things, it is fated that I will make a lot of enemies. So while I still feel that I'm not strong enough, I understand." Su Ro first lightly covered Chu Feng's mouth, then like a little bird relying on a person, she went into Chu Feng's embrace and took her charming face and tightly stuck it to Chu Feng's chest and said, "No matter how long you will take, I will wait for you. I will wait for you to marry us sisters." After hearing those words, Chu Feng also smiled in happiness. He opened his arms and tightly hugged the beauty, and enjoyed the short period of hidden love. When Chu Feng and Su Ro, the two lovers, were inseparable in the Vermilion Bird Mountain Range, everyone in the Vermilion Bird City were anxious. The Shangyuan family's corpses were everywhere outside of the city lord's residence. Blood dyed the land red, and especially when the sun was setting in the west, as the blood was shone by the sunlight, they seemed even more red, and it was truly frightening after one saw it. With a single glance, they would be scared out of their minds. A cowardly nobleman passed that place, and he even directly lost consciousness from that. However, that was not even anything when it was compared to the Shangyuan family's residence. At that place, blood truly formed rivers. On that day, 13,241 Shangyuan family members were all killed, and not a single life form remained. No one knew who the person who did that was, but they knew that he was a Grey Cloak world spiritist. He even had a well-known name, Mr. Grey Cloak. Within the main hall of the city lord's residence, Su Hen was sitting on the seat for the leader. Su Long and the other elders from the city lord's residence all gathered at that place. Uneasiness filled their faces, but they did not know what to do. Not only were they worried for Su Ro and Su Mei, they were even more worried about Mr. Grey Cloak. After all, Mr. Grey Cloak told Su Hen in front of the crowd that he had debts to settle with him. So, Su Hen was very worried, especially after the Shangyuan family was washed by blood. He was truly worried what Mr. Grey Cloak would do to the Su family. My lord, my lord." Suddenly, in complete fear and panic, a guard walked in. What happened? When they saw that, everyone in the hall stood up solemnly as though they were meeting a huge enemy. Droplets of sweat that were as big as beans couldn't help but slide down their foreheads. "Th. They're back." After speaking those words, the guard pointed outside the main hall. After looking over to that direction, everyone couldn't help but rejoice. They saw Su Ro, who was wearing the bride's clothes, slowly walking towards the main hall, while she was carrying Su Mei, who lost consciousness. "Sister, you two are fine. This is great." Seeing that, Su Long was greatly happy, and he quickly went over and took Su Mei from Su Ro's hands. Then he lovingly examined her as he was afraid that she was injured. "Rower, then what about Mr. Grey Cloak? How about Shangyuan Yu? What happened to him?" Su Hen also walked over, but he was not truly worried about his own daughters. He only cautiously swept his gaze outside. "This is for you from Mr. Grey Cloak." Su Ro did not respond. She only gave a folded paper slip to her father. "I'm tired, so I'm going to rest." After giving the paper slip over to Su Hen, Su Ro first shot a glance of resentment at Su Hen before walking towards her own room. Su Hen did not say much when he faced that scene. After all, today, he was in the wrong. In order to protect the Su family's foundation, he almost cut off his two daughters' happiness, although tainting the Vermilion Bird City with blood by Mr. Grey Cloak coming over and exterminating the Shangyuan family was very bad luck. In reality, he did not feel that it was a bad thing. At least Mr. Grey Cloak helped him finish off a huge enemy. After knowing that Su Ro and Su Mei were safe and well, everyone in the City Lord's residence boiled with discussion. Although, on the surface, the Vermilion Bird City faced a bloody disaster, his City Lord's residence was completely unharmed. So to them, it was really something worthy of celebration. Even if the Qilin Prince's mansion investigated because the Shangyuan family had connections with the Qilin Prince's mansion, it would not involve the Su family. Besides, an insignificant Shangyuan family was not worth it for the Qilin Prince's mansion to cause enmity with a Grey Cloak world spiritist. When Su Hen returned to his own palace when it was deep into the night, and when everyone was silent, he stood near the window and looked at the bright moon outside. His heart was extremely uneasy. Up until now, he did not have the courage to open up the paper slip within his hand. He did not dare to look what was written on it. However, escaping was never a way, and Su Hen deeply understood that reasoning. So he gradually closed his eyes. First, he breathed deeply for a while. Then he opened his eyes and also opened the paper slip. When he saw the content in the paper slip, his face changed multiple times. Occasionally green, occasionally purple, occasionally happy, occasionally anxious. After a long while, he inhaled a breath of cool air and happiness, and sorrow emerged onto his face. Although there were only a few simple words on the paper slip, it revealed many meanings. "If you dare to marry Su Ro or Su Mei off to anyone else, your Su family will be the next to be exterminated." The news of the Shangyuan family being slaughtered within the Vermilion Bird City quickly spread throughout the Azure Province. Even the ruler of the Azure Province, the Qilin Prince's mansion, and the #1 school in the Azure Province, the Lingyun School, sent powerful people over to the Vermilion Bird City, and they wanted to investigate everything. The reason why they had such big movements was not because of the life or death of the Shangyuan family, which was so eye-grabbing. In actuality, the Grey Cloak world spiritist who exterminated the Shangyuan family became the topic of focus for people. Grey Cloak world spiritists. In the current Azure Province, there were only 2 known. So, the value of Grey Cloak world spiritists in the Azure Province was extremely high. All sorts of powers wanted to pull a Grey Cloak world spiritist into their own power. Even if they could not pull them in, they would want to at least be on good terms with them and start up some relationship. But sadly, after that day, Mr. Grey Cloak completely disappeared. No one knew where he was, but something that could not be denied was that the matter was certainly one of the 2 big things that shook the Azure Province. The other big thing was that within the thousands of schools in the Azure Province, something happened to one school that could rank as one of the top 3 in the Azure Province. That school was called the Plum Flower School. It had an extremely good relationship with the 2 huge overlords of the Azure Province, the Lingyun School and the Qilin Prince's mansion. Its foundation was extremely strong as well. The weakest core disciples of the Plum Flower School were at the Origin realm, but many already entered the Profound realm. There were innumerable experts within the elders, and it could be said that powerful people were like wood in forests. The head of the Plum Flower School, Plum Flower Zhenren, was a person who lived for 99 years, had the cultivation of the 9th level of the profound realm, grasped several rank 6 martial skills as well as special methods. He was truly at the peak of the profound realm, and he only needed a step to walk into the heaven realm. He was one of the most famous big characters in the entire Azure province. However, such a powerful school like that was massacred a few days ago. Within the Plum Flower School, not a single life remained from the several million disciples. Even the buildings that had towered for several hundred years all became ashes. The huge Plum Flower School became an ocean of flames, and those flames were fierce. Even the lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion, and also the head of the Lingyun School, could not step into it. Such terrifying ocean of flames made people associate it with the ocean of flames that appeared within the desert a few months ago. It was said that several months ago, within the desert, the tomb of the Imperial Sky Sage, who was the #1 expert who went wherever he wished to within the Azure province 100 years ago, appeared. When that news got spread out, the Qilin Prince's mansion and the Lingyun School, and also various great powers of the Azure province, sent strong people out to investigate it. But they were obstructed by the ocean of flames, and they had no way of going near. At that time, some people who did not believe in the evil wanted to forcibly charge into the ocean of flames, but before even getting close, they were burnt into ashes. Up until now, the ocean of flames were still burning. Even the rainstorm 2 months ago could not extinguish the flames. In contrary, it was as though the rain was adding fuel to the flames. It was extremely strange. Some people said that they saw a male who looked like a beggar walk out of the ocean of flames as he spoke gibberish. Yet he was not burnt at all. People felt that news like that was made up. Even the strongest characters in the Azure province could not step into the ocean of flames. So how could someone walk out and not be harmed at all? So that information was taken as a joke, and no one cared about it. But the weirdest thing was on the day that the Plum Flower School was annihilated, there were people who also saw a beggar walk out the Plum Flower School. After the Plum Flower School got destroyed, some people saw the beggar who was outside of the Plum Flower School. That beggar was not injured at all, but he was just a bit insane. Some people were curious, and they felt that perhaps the beggar knew some truths. So they went up and asked him about the Plum Flower School. However, just after they opened their mouths, the beggar disappeared and could not be seen. People did not even see how he left. When people got hold of that news, instantly, there were huge reactions, and everyone felt that the ocean of flames in the desert was related to the ocean of flames in the Plum Flower School, and it was very possible that it was done by the mysterious beggar. Immediately, powers from everywhere searched everywhere. They wanted to find that beggar because he would not actually be a beggar, but an expert who had extremely strong strength. He would be at least of the heaven realm, and some people even suspected that he was a martial lord. Martial lord. If that news arrived at the Jiang dynasty, even they would be shaken. They were powerful people that didn't even exist in the Jiang dynasty. Such a character would flip the entire continent of the 9 provinces upside down. However, only powers with strong strength such as the Lingyun School and the Qilin Prince's mansion could participate on those matters. Others could only look at the liveliness. So even though the 2 big things shocked people, powers such as second-rate schools did not change at all. In fact, the second-rate school, the Void School, remained normal and usual. The disciples that should be cultivating were cultivating, and the elders that should be lecturing were lecturing. Only the core zone was completely silent. Several days ago, the head of the school personally ordered all core disciples to leave the core zone, and also the core zone to be locked up for building repairs. As for why it needed to be locked up, naturally, it was Mr. Greycloak's promise. He was going to set up a spirit formation array in the core zone, just in case. If there were enemies who invaded in the future, they could protect the most important foundations. After several days of laying, Chu Feng finally finished the spirit formation array. Even though he lacked the cultivation and had insufficient spirit power, which caused the spirit formation array to have flaws. There were absolutely no problems for it to block the attacks from a person at the third level of the profound realm. Within the head of the school's eyes, that spirit formation array was simply perfect. So, as he was touched, he even gave Chu Feng a huge gift: 20 high-quality profound medicine. That was certainly a huge gift. After all, the Void School was only mediocre within second-rate schools, and its strength was far from the Azure Dragon School's strength. Besides, 20 high-quality profound medicine were still extremely precious for the Azure Dragon School. So from that, it could be seen that the Void School truly, greatly bled. Even if they didn't completely empty their storages, it would be pretty close. School head, this present is too valuable. After all, since you helped me, you also suffered from quite a few losses. It is completely reasonable for me to set up a spirit formation array for your Void School. As he looked at the 20 high-quality profound medicine, although Chu Feng's heart was moved, he did not immediately accept it. Ah, Mr. Greycloak, they aren't compensation for the spirit formation array. They are just some tokens of respect from my Void School. I know that my Void School, which is a petty little second-rate school, isn't qualified for you to remain here to be a guest elder in my Void School. However, my Void School still hopes to befriend you. If possible, I hope that we can become friends. The head of the Void School was quite honest and he spoke his true thoughts. That's fine. Since it is like this, I will take the offer. Chu Feng smiled and put the 20 high-quality profound medicine into his cosmos sack. How precious were high-quality profound medicine. Even the World Spirit Guild did not give out such a precious gift when they were trying to rope Chu Feng in. Of course, it could not be denied that the top-quality white-headed eagle that the World Spirit Guild gifted to Chu Feng was also extremely precious. In terms of price, it would most likely not be any lower than the 20 high-quality profound medicine. However, how big was the World Spirit Guild? A single top-quality white-headed eagle was truly only a hair from 9 oxen, and not even worth mentioning. However, to the Void School, 20 high-quality profound medicine was possibly their accumulations of several years. So at that instant, Chu Feng was extremely happy, and he had great impressions towards the Void School. He hiddenly decided, when he flourished in the future, he must also help the Void School out. After laying the spirit formation array, Chu Feng wanted to leave the Void School, but he could not, as the head of the school had to invite Chu Feng to a departing meal. As it was hard to refuse great hospitality, Chu Feng could only stay there for another day. On the night of that day, the head of the school set up a feast for Chu Feng in the most sacred place in the Void School, on the top of the Void Tower. School head, the shape of this Void Tower is quite strange. I wonder who created this. As Chu Feng drank wine and ate food, he looked around. He discovered that the location of the Void Tower was quite nice. As they sat on the top, they could see the entire Void School. It was especially beautiful when it was night. Also, the construction style of the Void Tower was quite special. The main body looked like sword hilt, but the important part was that it was golden colored. Under the illumination of the moonlight, it flashed with light. Yet the golden color was not a single hole. There were pieces like the scales of a dragon, golden-colored dragon scales. It was quite beautiful. Looking from afar, it seemed like a golden-colored blade that stabbed into the mountain and became one with the Void School. It joined together with the mountain, and it joined extremely naturally. It could even be said to be flawless. It did not even look like a construction, but something created from nature. With the world spiritist's special gaze, Chu Feng could see that the Void Tower was not simple, especially as he was on the top of the Void Tower and looking around. He felt that it was even more likely that the Void Tower had some secrets hidden within it, so he wanted to investigate a bit. Oh, this Void Tower was personally built by my Void School's founder, Void Genren. Actually, the entire Void School was his old man's work. The head of the Void School said, on the topic of my school's founder, he was quite the character of his generation, but, as the founder was mentioned, a manager elder couldn't help but sigh. Yeah, 1,000 years ago, My school's founder was a character who went freely around the continent. The trivial Azure province could not contain him, and at that time, my Void School was also quite famous in the 9 provinces. It was abnormally prosperous, and the Lingyun School today cannot even be compared to it. But sadly, he was quite unlucky. My founder met the founder of the Azure Dragon School, and because enmity was formed between the two of them, they fought at the summit of the imperial court. At the end, he was defeated by the Azure Dragon founder's hands. From then on, my founder could not rise again from that fall. At the end, he passed away with grudges in the Void Mountain Range. Up until now, people only remember the founder of the Azure Dragon School 1,000 years ago, the peerless Azure Dragon founder who went where he wished in the continent. In that era, he was also a character whose name spread across the continent. However, no one today remembers my Void School's founder, or else my Void School would not be in such a desolate area. Another manager elder kept on sighing. It is useless to harbor grudges. In every time period, people only remember the strongest person. It could only be said that our founder was born in the wrong time and met a monster-like opponent like the Azure Dragon founder. Besides, the desolation of my Void School cannot be blamed on the founder. He once said that the unique martial skill he created remained in the Void Tower, and it awaited for a fated disciple to take it. It's only due to the fact that we're useless and unable to comprehend the unique skill that the founder left behind. Otherwise, how could the Void School be so lonely? What schools stressed weren't how powerful their founders were. It stressed whether the following generations could surpass their seniors or not, and whether or not they could cause the school to flourish. If that wasn't the case, the Azure Dragon School wouldn't have declined to this stage, and the Lingyun School wouldn't have become the #1 school in the Azure province. The head of the Void School helplessly shook his head. Unique martial skill. After hearing those 3 words, Chu Feng's eyes lit up and he asked, "I wonder what unique martial skill was left behind by the founder." This. In response, the 2 manager elders were first taken slightly aback, then they seemed to be in a difficult situation. On the other hand, the head of the Void School indifferently smiled and said, "My school's founder was an expert of the Heaven Realm back then. Although his fame was not as big as the Azure Dragon founder's fame, he was still a character who ranked in the top 10 in the entire continent of the 9 provinces. When he was quite aged, he had a moment of enlightenment in the truths of martial cultivation. He created a unique martial skill, the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry. The Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry was a rank 7 martial skill, but it was said that if it was mastered, it could be comparable to rank 8 martial skills. Its might would be enough to frighten the skies and shake the ground. Even in the current continent of the 9 province, it is still a transcendent skill. As he mentioned the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry, the head of the Void School was quite proud. His spit flew everywhere. Light and colors overflowed from his face, and if you were a person, you could tell that he was extremely excited and happy. However, his high spirits were suddenly all gone when he spoke the last sentence. But sadly, the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry has only been used by my founder's hands. Although there were records about the power of it, no one actually saw what it looked like. Helplessness was all over the face of the Void School's head. Perhaps it is only a legend. After all, who can record the things that happened 1,000 years ago so clearly? One of the manager elders bitterly laughed. Impossible. The Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry certainly exists. The past events by the founder are real as well. Another elder suddenly stood up and he was a bit emotional. Insolence. In front of the mister, what propriety is this? The head of the Void School was angered as he felt that the atmosphere was a bit off. Let us not mention the past. Today, if we're not drunk, we do not leave. Seeing that, Chu Feng raised his wine cup and he wanted to smooth out the mood. As for the 3 others, naturally, they didn't dare to not give face, and with a single gulp, they finished off a big bowl of wine. In that night, the 4 people who were there drank quite a bit, especially the head of the Void School and also the 2 manager elders. They were truly drunk. However, Chu Feng was not. When it was deep into the night and when people were silent, Chu Feng secretly returned to the Void Tower. To the Void School, the Void Tower was a sacred land so normally. Not only did no one live there, elders and disciples were not permitted to enter. Therefore, no one would know that Chu Feng came to that place. At that instant, the doors of the Void Tower were locked tight, and there were even mechanisms and formations. But to Chu Feng, who was a Grey Cloak world spiritist, it was extremely simple. With a small and clever spirit formation, it easily opened the locks without damaging them in any way. After successfully entering the Void Tower, Chu Feng took the world spirit compass out and imbued his spirit power into it. He started to search diligently. As for what he was searching, naturally, it was the unique martial skill that Void Genren left behind, the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry. The Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry was in the Void Tower. However, starting from 1,000 years ago, and after the founder of the Void School passed away with grudges, no one else in the Void School could grasp that martial skill anymore. In reality, no one even saw what the martial skill looked like. With world spiritist methods, Chu Feng went up and down the Void Tower and searched back and forth many times. However, he could not find any traces of the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry. That made Chu Feng anxious, because, with the eyes of a world spiritist, he could tell that the Void Tower was very special, and he knew that there must be something hidden within the tower. And after hearing the school head's words, Chu Feng felt that most likely, the thing that was hidden was the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry. However, in front of his eyes, Chu Feng could not find it even if it depended on his life, so naturally, it made him anxious. After all, the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry was not a simple martial skill. It was created by a Heaven Realm expert, and it was a rank 7 martial skill that did not exist within the Azure province. Also, it was not a simple rank 7 martial skill. It was a rank 7 martial skill that was infinitely near a rank 8 martial skill. Of course, since Chu Feng knew that such a martial skill existed, he would want to get it within his hands because as long as he grasped that martial skill, undoubtedly, it would be one of the trump cards that could protect his life in the future. Thinking to that point, Chu Feng searched in detail once again. But it was useless as after the whole night, he had no harvests, not to mention the cultivation method of the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry. He could not even find a single strand of hair. Will I, Chu Feng, really have to miss such a good opportunity with the Blade of the Void Dragon's Cry? Chu Feng stood on top of the Void Tower, and as he looked at the faint light that came from the east, his heart was full of regret. In that entire night, Chu Feng truly used everything he had and used every single method he could. So, the situation was already set. No matter how much more time Chu Feng spent to search, it would be for nothing. Saying it with Egge's words, Chu Feng's ability was not enough, and his spirit power was not sufficient. So he had no way of observing everything the Void Tower hid. However, when Chu Feng's spirit power grew to the point in which he could see through the Void Tower, how great of a use would a rank 7 martial skill have to Chu Feng? You are not a disciple from the Void School. Suddenly, an aged voice came from behind Chu Feng, who, after hearing that voice, Chu Feng was shocked. He first leaped forward, and only after dozens of meters did he turn around and sweep his gaze forward. Although the gaze did not seem to be important, Chu Feng was instantly frightened because an aged old man who had white hair stood in front of him. That old man was short, and he had wrinkles all over his face. His appearance did not seem out of the ordinary, but his body emitted a special type of aura. It was an aura that belonged to those who cultivated to a certain realm. The most important thing was that the old man's body was translucent. It meant that he was not a complete life form but a consciousness that was able to avoid Chu Feng's spirit power. Chu Feng, careful, this is a consciousness from a Heaven Realm expert. Although after being worn down for many years and it is extremely weak, it should not be underestimated. Egge nervously reminded. Senior, I wonder you are, Chu Feng respectfully asked. Such a strong consciousness would not appear for no cause or reason at all. So immediately, Chu Feng associated him with a person. It was the founder of the Void School. Although it was quite inconceivable for a heaven realm consciousness to live for 1,000 years, the only person Chu Feng could think of was that person. I never would have thought that after such a long time, a decently talented person finally came, yet was not part of my school. Ah, whatever, perhaps this is the will of the heavens. The old man did not answer Chu Feng's question. He only helplessly sighed, then said to Chu Feng, "Boy, I'll pass the cultivation method for the blade of the void dragon's cry verbally down to you. As for how much you can remember and whether you succeed in cultivating, it will all depend on your talent and luck." After that, the old man started to narrate the cultivation method to Chu Feng, and Chu Feng quickly listened to it seriously and diligently remembered everything with his heart. In his heart, the old man did not speak over 100 phrases in total, but every single phrase was very fine and detailed. To completely understand it required extremely high comprehension power. When the old man finished speaking, Chu Feng was incomparably joyful in his heart, because he knew what the old man passed him down was undoubtedly the blade of the void dragon's cry. "Senior, thank you for passing your unique skill down to me." After firmly memorizing the cultivation method in his heart, Chu Feng paid his respects to the old man. "No need to thank me. I just don't want my unique skill to be lost. Also, if you don't have anything else, leave. Don't disturb my peace again." After speaking, the old man waved his sleeve and he disappeared without leaving any traces. "Eggy, do you think the old man was?" Chu Feng asked as he walked out of the void tower. "It's extremely likely that it is him," Eggy replied. "But didn't you say that the period of existence for consciousness was limited, and heaven realm consciousnesses could not live past 1,000 years? Chu Feng asked in confusion. "That is indeed true, but there are always exceptions for everything. Although consciousnesses still grasp a certain amount of power, after all, they are virtual bodies. Perhaps through special treasures or methods, they can extend their period of life. This void tower is quite special, and maybe because of that, it let us consciousness exist for a longer period of time. However, I feel like the reason why wants his own consciousness to exist is not only because he doesn't want his unique skill to be lost. It is more because he's thinking for himself." Eggy said, "Thinking for himself? What do you mean by that?" Chu Feng got more and more curious. "When you knew about, your first thought was to get his unique skill, the blade of the void dragon's cry. However, my first thought was to absorb the source energy from his corpse, but just now I dispelled that thought." Eggy giggled and relied. "You mean?" Chu Feng suddenly understood. "That's right. This should be guarding his own corpse, because he doesn't want his source energy to be taken away by world spiritists after he died. So, with special methods, he let his own consciousness survive. But looking at how he is, I'm guessing that he can't go on for much longer. Within 2 years, he will certainly completely disappear. At that time, it would not be late for us to take away his source energy." Eggy evilly smiled and said, "You little girl." Chu Feng could only show helplessness after hearing Eggy's thoughts, since he thought that the head of the Void School would certainly personally send him off as he left. After leaving the Void Tower, Chu Feng did not directly leave but returned to his own resting palace. "Why is he here? Was it discovered that I snuck into the Void Tower?" However, before even nearing the palace, Chu Feng couldn't help but be taken aback because, with his spirit power observations, the head of the Void School was currently standing at the entrance to his palace, and he seemed rather anxious. School head, why have you risen so early today?" Although suspicions were raised in Chu Feng's heart, he still walked over relaxedly because he was not afraid of the head of the Void School. Perhaps it sounded quite bad, but with Chu Feng's current strength, other than the old monster hidden inside the Void Tower, no one could stop him in the Void School. "Mister, it's great that you're back. I received a letter just now, and it was mentioned that it should be given to you. I was worried that your news was exposed, so I immediately came here to find you." The head of the Void School nervously gave the letter to Chu Feng. After seeing the letter, Chu Feng's heart also tightened because the letter was very special. Only those who had quite good relationships with the head of the Void School would have letters that were valued by the Void School. Those letters also immediately get sent into the head of the school's hands. As for that letter, it was actually given to Chu Feng by the head of the Void School, and given to Su Rou by Chu Feng because he was worried that after he left, Su Rou and the others would be met with any troubles. So Chu Feng told Su Rou where he was, and also told her if she met with any problems, send the letter to the Void School. Nothing else was permitted to be written in the letter. The only thing required was to Mr. Greycloak, and it would be fine. After Chu Feng opened the letter, there were indeed those words in it, and it was Su Rou's handwriting. It's nothing, just a friend. Chu Feng smiled at the head of the Void School and explained. After that, he took his leave, and he did not need the school head to send him off. He quickly left the Void School and went to the place that was pre-appointed with Su Rou. It was a small tavern, and because the location was rather good, there were many guests that came in and out. The beauty Su Rou sat inside it, so naturally, she became the focal point of people. In fact, next to the table that Su Rou was sitting on were several people who did not have eyes. At that moment, white foam came out from their mouths and they were heavily injured. Of course, they received violent attacks from the result of some teasing. But even so, it was still unable to stop those males from admiring Su Rou's prettiness. That was the attraction power of beauties. I have something to speak with this lady. Everyone, please help out and give us a clear space. Suddenly, a voice exploded like thunder. Even the wine bowls on the tables trembled everywhere. That change caused everyone in the tavern to panic. How did they even dare to say half a word of no? Every single person rolled and climbed out because they could tell that Chu Feng was a martial cultivating expert. A person like that was not someone whom they could offend. What happened? When everyone left, Chu Feng carefully looked at Su Rou. He discovered that Su Rou's face was extremely ugly, so something big must have happened. Chu Feng, you must remain calm. Su Rou went in front of Chu Feng, and her pair of beautiful eyes were full of worry. What happened? Chu Feng felt uneasiness. He was aware that the matter was very possibly related to him. The Golden Purple City has been massacred. Other than the young generations who went out to cultivate, everyone else in your Chu family has been killed. Su Rou said those words with great difficulty. Asterisk ta ta ta. Asterisk when those words were said, Chu Feng stepped 3 steps back. Instantly, his face turned deathly white, and his breathing quickened. Chu Feng, are you okay? Seeing that, Su Rou quickly went up to support Chu Feng, and she was even more worried. At that moment, Chu Feng's body quivered a bit. Only after a good while did he calm down. He asked with a deep voice, how about my father, my elder brother, Chu Iwei and the others, are they fine? Your elder brother is still in the Lingyun School cultivating. Chu Iwei and the others are in the Azure Dragon School, so all of them are fine. But your father... Su Rou did not finish her words. However, Chu Feng already understood her meaning. He closed both of his eyes, and in that instant, 2 streams of tears already slid down his face from his eyes. His body, which he just calmed down, trembled once again, and it became even more intense. I will return to the Golden Purple City. Chu Feng walked out of the tavern and he whistled at the sky. After a cry rang out, a huge white-headed eagle slid down from the sky like an arrow. Asterisk whoosh asterisk before even letting the white-headed eagle land. Chu Feng leaped up and jumped onto the white-headed eagle. I will come as well. Su Rou also leapt up and hugged Chu Feng's waist. After another long cry from the white-headed eagle, it rose into the sky. Under the stunned gazes of everyone, they disappeared into the distant horizon. The Golden Purple City, the second-rate city, was massacred. After getting that news, the lords of the nearby cities immediately rushed there. Even the city lord of the Vermilion Bird City, personally, went towards the Golden Purple City. In the instant that the city lords entered the Golden Purple City, their faces couldn't help but greatly change because, at that very moment, the Golden Purple City could only be described with several words. The most fitting were, a sight too appalling to look at. When Chu Feng massacred the Shangyuan family, he only massacred their family. But the Golden Purple City being massacred was the entire city. Within the Golden Purple City, no matter if they were high-ranking officials, noble clans, or even commoners, not a single person lived. Although the blood already dried out, the gods could still see the dark redness. Blood splattered everywhere, and after entering the city, a strong stench could be smelt. It was the smell of blood. Who could have possibly done this kind of thing? A tall city lord who just arrived was enraged after he saw that scene. They came for the Chu family. Just at that time, a slightly fat male walked out of the city. He was also a city lord from a neighboring city. Chu family. The tall and big city lord expressed confusion. It's the family of Chu Feng. The slightly fat city lord replied, Chu Feng, that young man. How did you know that they came for the Chu family? The tall and big city lord closely questioned. You will know after entering. The slightly fat city lord pointed towards the city. In response, the tall and big city lord quickly went down the horse and walked into the city. The guards behind him closely followed. But after they entered the city, they stood where they were and shock filled their faces. In the Golden Purple City's plaza, a tall and big frame was erected there. Under the frame were corpses that were all over the place without order. Several heads were hung on top of the frame. They were all people from the Chu family. In the plaza, there were even several huge words written with blood. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. Chu Feng touched my brother, so I annihilate his entire family. It's a white-headed eagle. As they looked at the huge white-headed eagle in the sky, not a single person who were there didn't tighten their hearts. What was a white-headed eagle? Naturally, all of them knew. It was an extremely precious thing. Even the Vermilion Bird City did not have a white-headed eagle. So what kind of person would they be if they were able to ride such an object? Was it possible that the people who massacred the Golden Purple City came back? When they thought of that, they felt frightened and alarmed. But after the white-headed eagle landed onto the ground, not only did their uneasiness disappear, they even rejoiced because the two people who sat on the white-headed eagle were not big enemies. It was the second lady of the Vermilion Bird City, Su Ro, and also the young genius who shook the Vermilion Bird City, Chu Feng. It's the second lady. This is great, the second lady is here. We now have a backbone. After seeing Su Ro, several city lords quickly went over to welcome her. Their cultivation were at the peak of the origin realm. So if the people who massacred the city came back, they would truly have no way of fighting against it. However, Su Ro was an elder of the Azure Dragon School, and she was a genuinely powerful person in the profound realm. So since Su Ro appeared naturally, they felt a bit more safe. Chu Feng, you must be strong. At the same time they welcomed Su Ro, the several city lords did not forget to console Chu Feng. They were deeply afraid that a young man like him would be unable to endure the strike that was coming up. Chu Feng nodded towards their good intentions, and he forced a light smile out before pushing the crowd away and walking towards the plaza. When he was in the air, he already saw the huge words written in blood. He knew that the calamity was initiated by him. He walked into the plaza, and he looked at the heads hung on the tall frame. The oldest were aged old people. The youngest were little children. When he looked at every single familiar face, Chu Feng's heart truly felt as if a knife was stirring it around because the death of those people were caused by him. Suddenly, Chu Feng's body violently shook, and his heart was as though a knife pierced through it. The tears that he forcibly held up within his eyes instantly erupted out uncontrollably. He saw a familiar face. It was the person who raised him for 15 years, his father, Chu Yuan. Next to him was the former family master of the Chu family, Chu Yuanba, as well as Chu Iwei's father, Chu Reni. Those who treated him well in the past, or those who treated him not well in the past, were all dead in front of his eyes. They died because of him. Sorry, I killed all of you. I killed all of you. Suddenly, Chu Feng knelt on the ground and he ferociously banged his head down. Strong power caused the black rock to form a deep indentation. As the rock fragments flew, they interweaved with his tears. Chu Feng, don't do this. It has already happened, and you can't change anything by doing this." Seeing that, Su Rou quickly went up to pull Chu Feng up, but she could not even move him. Later on, she did not obstruct him anymore. She knew how much pain Chu Feng must be feeling as his own family were all killed because of himself. That feeling was enough to cause a person to collapse. That self-blame caused enough pain for him to wish to die. Just like that, Chu Feng knelt for 3 days and 3 nights. On the 4th day, the Vermilion Bird City's army arrived. Su Hen hurried over, and Su Mei also followed. When they saw that scene and saw Chu Feng like that, every single person's heart ached, yet they did not know how to comfort him. When it was noon on the 4th day, the Chu family's young generation who cultivated in the Azure Dragon School also hurried over. Father tilde tilde tilde, mother tilde tilde tilde, ah tilde tilde tilde, when Chu Wei, Chu Cheng, Chu Zhen, Chu Iwei, Chu Shwei and the others entered the golden purple city and saw their own parents' heads being hung up, all of them lost control. All of them leaped over and wailed with devastating grief. Chu Shwei even passed out on scene, being unable to accept that fact. "Chu Feng, you bastard. If you didn't stir up troubles everywhere, how would my Chu family end up like this? Give my parents back to me." Some people even lost their minds when they saw the wretched deaths of their family. They ran over to Chu Feng, beat, kicked, clawed, and bit him. As he faced their violent attacks, Chu Feng did not dodge or avoid them. He knelt perfectly straight where he was. He was willing to receive the strikes and curses without making any sound. Enough. This matter wasn't Chu Feng's fault. If you have the ability, go find the people who killed your parents and collect your debts from them. What are you even doing here by hitting Chu Feng like this? At that moment, the most rational person was Chu Wei. As the eldest in the young generation of the Chu family, he forcefully endured the pain of losing his family and stood up. He pulled the people who were being unreasonable to the side and even consoled Chu Feng. "Chu Feng, don't need to blame yourself too much. You must remain strong, because the only person who can avenge my Chu family is you." However, Chu Feng did not reply as though he didn't hear what Chu Wei said. He only continued to kneel where he was, and his expression made one's heart ache. Only then did people discover that Chu Feng did not even blink once for such a long period of time. Both of his eyes were full of self-blame as he looked at the Chu family members who were dead. "Chu Feng, are you okay? Don't scare us." Seeing that, Chu Iwei also went over. At that instant, what flowed out of Chu Feng's eyes were not longer tears. It was blood, tears of blood. When one reached the point where they could die from the sorrow, and when their tears were all drained, the only thing that could flow out were tears of blood. "Chu Feng, what are you doing? Don't trample on yourself. You won't help them by doing this. You will only harm yourself." Su Rou ran over and worry was everywhere on her face. "Chu Feng, what are you doing? Don't be like this." Su Mei also ran over, but she wasn't as calm as Su Rou and tears filled her face. However, no matter who went up to urge him, they could not move Chu Feng. It was as if he was possessed by a demon, and he kept on kneeling there. He allowed the tears of blood from his eyes to flow down his face and to dye his clothes wet. At that very instant, not to mention those who were always worried about Chu Feng, even the people from the Chu family's young generation, who hated Chu Feng because their family died, had indescribable sorrow and started to go up to urge Chu Feng. But it was useless. No matter who spoke, it was useless. Only when the sky became dark did Chu Feng's eyes slowly close shut, and with a poof, he fell onto the ground. Finally, because the pain of his sorrow surpassed his limit, he lost consciousness. He remained in a coma for 2 days and 2 nights. When his consciousness returned, and when he opened both of his eyes, he found out that he was laying on a bed. It was a temporary military tent. There wasn't too much space in the tent, but Chu Feng could see a figure hurrying back and forth. It was Su Rou. Su Rou, the lady of the city lord, was currently cooking up some medicine. Without much thinking, Chu Feng knew that it was for him. Chu Feng originally wanted to get up, but he suddenly discovered that something was pressing on his chest. Only then did he notice that Su Mei laid in front of his chest, and was currently sleeping. She slept very soundly, and it could be seen that she was extremely tired and exhausted. There were even traces of tears on her face. At that instant, Chu Feng's heart couldn't avoid hurting a bit. He knew that the little beauty must not have been well for the past few days, and she must have been deeply worried about him. You knelt for 3 days and 3 nights, so she stood along with you for 3 days and 3 nights. Even when you passed out, she was still always by your side. Su Ro walked over. How long did I sleep for? 2 days. What about Chu Iwei and the others? For the sake of their safety, they are being sent back to the Azure Dragon School with escorts. Your family has also been buried. They must really hate me now. If I considered the consequences of my actions, they wouldn't have died because of me. Don't blame yourself anymore because there's no use in that. This cannot be blamed on you. It can only be blamed on the people who attacked so despicably. They could not kill you, so they killed your family. This is a plot. They intentionally want you to blame yourself and to feel guilt. Do not get tricked by them and don't be destroyed by their schemes. Su Ro tightly grabbed onto Chu Feng, and she was extremely afraid that Chu Feng could not undo the knot in his heart. Don't worry, I, Chu Feng, am not that weak. Right now, I just want to know who did this. Bone-piercing coldness emerged into Chu Feng's eyes. Actually, in his massacre, there is a survivor. The city lord of the golden purple city did not die. With special methods, he faked his death and survived. He also saw the people who massacred this city. Su Ro slowly said, Who was it? Chu Feng was a bit agitated. Don't get too stirred up for now, and don't wake little Mei up. Come out and I'll tell you then. Su Ro worriedly looked at Su Mei, who was laying on Chu Feng's chest while still sleeping sweetly, and walked out the tent. So Chu Feng carefully carried Su Mei onto the bed, and after covering her with the blanket, he walked out of the tent. This time, before Chu Feng spoke to ask, Su Ro took the lead and spoke. It was the 5 Tiger Village. It is a fortified mountain village, and there are 5 leaders. All of them are experts in the profound realm. This fortified mountain village is a bandit's nest. All of them do things that cannot be exposed to gain large amounts of reward from it. The 5 Tiger Village is a headquarters by itself. It is located in a special area, being on the border of my Vermilion Bird City as well as the Black Tortoise City. So my father have never taken care of them. After all, they were a power that was not weak. If he needed to remove them, it would not be simple, and if it wasn't dealt with well, he would even get retaliated on. However, this time, my father is determined to remove the 5 Tiger Village. He has already assembled the army from my Vermilion Bird City, and he is currently heading towards the 5 Tiger Village. Do you know where the 5 Tiger Village is located at? Chu Feng asked. Su Ro nodded her head. Bring me there. After speaking, Chu Feng summoned Little White over. The two of them rode the white-headed eagle with the fastest possible speed. They rushed towards the 5 Tiger Village. The 5 Tiger Village was a bandit's nest. The people in it raped and pillaged, and there was no evils that they did not do. The people in the fortified mountain village called each others as brothers. The 5 tigers were the leaders. There weren't many people there, only near 1,000. The strongest were at the profound realm, and the weakest were at the origin realm. Their strength was quite strong, and underestimation was not permitted. A few days ago, the 5 Tiger Village received a huge business, and currently, they were celebrating after a great success. Some drank beer and ate meat, while others abused the females they plundered. No matter how much more miserable the females painfully yelled out, not a single person expressed sympathy. Even when they were abused to death, no one would feel any pity, because those people were a group of bastards. They did all sorts of heartless things, and they did not have a single bit of humanity within them. Suddenly, a white-headed eagle came down from the sky, and it caused the noisy laughter to quiet down. Everyone's gazes were attracted by the 2 people on the white-headed eagle, especially when they saw the female who wore white clothes. The group of beasts even started drooling. They had played around with innumerable females, but they had never seen such a beautiful girl. As they looked, they simply could not stop. Their beast-like nature was stirred up. Some people who did not grow eyes were even eager, and they wanted to rush over to strip the long skirt off the white-clothed beauty. I wonder what you two came here for. Suddenly, a clear and loud voice rang out, and 5 figures walked out from the crowd. Every single person was tall and big. Dragons and phoenixes were drawn on their bodies. There were silver rings hanging on their ears and noses, and there were even several alluring females with incomplete clothing on their bodies next to them. They were touching and nibbling on the 5 tigers' bare muscles and doing lowly actions. They did not even care about the gazes of others, and they acted quite wildly. At the same time that the 5 people appeared, everyone else in the 5 tiger village calmed down because those 5 people were the leaders of the 5 tiger village, the 5 tigers, who let you to do the case in the golden purple city. The cold glare from Chu Feng's gaze shot everywhere, and he was trying his best to control his bloodlust. Kill them. After hearing Chu Feng's words, the leader of the 5 tigers knew that something was wrong. He did not waste any words, and he directly ordered them to kill Chu Feng and Su Rou. At the same time that the leader of the 5 tigers spoke, Chu Feng already started attacking. He raised his hand and palmed. Instantly, several people were shook into pieces and became pools of blood as they sprayed over the people who were behind them. Following that, Chu Feng palmed again, and several more people became pools of blood as they died wretchedly by Chu Feng. At the same time, Su Rou also attacked. Similarly, her attacks were abnormally fierce and every strike drew blood. Every time she attacked, several people would die and there was no mercy. Damn it, these two are in the profound realm. Seeing that things weren't going well, the 5 tigers did not fold their hands away and watch on the side, and they started to attack Chu Feng and Su Rou. The 5 of them had the cultivation of the first level of the profound realm, and the martial skills they were skilled in were very vicious. However, in front of Chu Feng, who borrowed Egge's power, they were simply like 5 pieces of trash. Chu Feng did not even use martial skills. With a casual punch, his profound power overflowed and it was extremely tyrannical. It easily dissolved the combined attacks from the 5 people, and at the same time, the 5 of them also flew back. When they slammed back down onto the ground, bones all over their bodies cracked, and countless bones were snapped. Even half of their internal organs were damaged. All of them spit out blood, and they were heavily injured, without any more power to stand back up. Quickly run. After seeing their 5 leaders get destroyed from one punch by someone, the 5 tiger village members who were full of confidence previously were instantly terrified so much that their souls flew away. How would they dare to continue attacking Chu Feng and Su Rou? They turned around and ran out the mountain village. Today, all of you will die. However, with the wave of Chu Feng's big sleeve, a huge spirit formation descended from the skies and enveloped the entire mountain village. No matter how the members attacked the spirit formation, they could not move it in the slightest. The spirit formation was laid when Chu Feng entered the mountain village. It was a strong spirit formation, and its goal was to prevent them from escaping because today, Chu Feng was absolutely not leaving a single person alive. From then on, the 5 tiger village that was enveloped by the spirit formation was as if it was an arena of carnage. The people who normally did nothing but evil fell one after the other, and every single death was more miserable than the previous. When blood converged into rivers and corpses stacked into mountains, after the massacre in the 5 tiger village, only 5 people remained. Those 5 people were the 5 leaders of the 5 tiger village. I'll ask again, who prompted all of you to do it? Chu Feng swept his icy gaze at the 5 people who laid on the ground with deathly white faces. What are you talking about? We don't even understand. One of them howled very innocently. You don't understand. Sure, don't understand. Chu Feng stuck his hand out and pressed it onto his head. Following that, the lightning that encircled his hand drilled from the head into his entire body. At that moment, that person painfully howled out. The merciless third thunderstyle created countless little lightning snakes. They were tearing his skin inch by inch, and burning his flesh bit by bit. They were destroying his bones, wrecking his organs, and insanely devastating every single part of his body. That feeling of pain was indescribable. Only those who personally experienced it could understand. Ah tilde tilde tilde, the wretched wail which was like a pig being slaughtered kept on sounding out. Birds flew and beasts escaped in all directions. That was intentional by Chu Feng. As he remained awake, he would feel the torture from his body, and Chu Feng wanted him to taste all kinds of pain before cutting off his life. As he was being destroyed by the lightning, the powerful person at the first level of the profound realm finally became charcoal-like after all the burning. There was not a single inch of undamaged place on his body. That period of time was certainly something that he never wanted to experience because it was the hardest event to bear in his entire life. But luckily, the current him already breathed no more. After killing that person, not only did the flames of anger in Chu Feng's heart not diminish, it even increased because even though he knew that those people were the culprits behind his Chu family's massacre, they were not the mastermind. So he extended his palm, which was full of lightning, towards another person. It was Gong Lion from the Black Tortoise City. He hired us to massacre the Golden Purple City. This time, before letting Chu Feng do the deed, that person confessed, "This hero, please spare us. This is the reward that Gong Lion gave us, and we'll give all of it to you." The leader of the 5 tigers took his own Cosmos sack off and shot a glance at the 3 others who still survived. "Hero, please spare the lives of us 3. This is everything we've accumulated, and please accept them." Seeing that, the 3 others also forcibly sat back up, and with a petty attitude they gave their Cosmos sacks to Chu Feng. "You killed my family, yet you want me to spare your lives. A debt in blood must be paid with blood. Those words were written by you, right? Do you not understand the principles behind that?" Chu Feng coldly smiled, and his smile was extremely terrifying. You're that Chu Feng." After hearing Chu Feng's words, the remaining 4 tigers' expression changed greatly. The colors of their faces instantly turned deathly white, and they powerlessly laid down. They knew that a disaster truly arrived. Chu Feng did not reply. He clenched one of his hands, and a golden-colored longsword was condensed out. With the streak of a golden light, 8 arms fell onto the ground. Ah tilde tilde tilde, as they saw that their own arms were cut off by someone, the 4 tigers painfully cried out. However, that was not the end. It was only the beginning. Asterisk whoosh 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 asterisk Chu Feng held the golden-colored longsword and madly stabbed the 4 tigers. He sliced open their skins, cut off their tendons and veins, and Chu Feng was endlessly pricking their most sensitive nerves, yet keeping them awake. He let pain that was hard to unendurable engulf their bodies one wave after the other, and let them be filled by the most cruel tortures in the world. "Ah tilde tilde tilde, you bastard. Kill us if you dare." Within a blink, the infamous 4 tigers had their blood and flesh muddled together by Chu Feng. It made them want to die instead of live from the pain, and they wanted Chu Feng to kill them. Want to die? How can it be so easy? I want all of you to wish to live but cannot, and wish to die but cannot. How could Chu Feng, who was burning with flames of anger, so easily let them go? Not only did he not stop, he even became fiercer. "Chu Feng, that's enough. Look at the time. My Vermilion Bird City's army will arrive quickly, so we have to leave this place soon as well." As she looked at the 4 tigers who completely became bloody humans, even Su Ro's heart could not bear it. Even if they die, they will not die with a complete corpse. Chu Feng coldly snorted, and the golden sword in his hand slashed randomly. As the golden glare shot in all directions, the corpses of the 4 tigers started to fly everywhere. Even their source energies were absorbed by Chu Feng for Eggy. They truly died with incomplete corpses. "Gong Lion, I never would have thought that you would be so ruthless. You dare to secretly kill my family. Originally, I even thought of letting you live for a bit more. But now, it seems that not only do you need to die, your Gong family needs to die as well." After thoroughly finishing the 4 tigers off, Chu Feng looked around to confirm that he did not leave anyone living. Then he dissolved his spirit formation and rode Little White away without caring about his surroundings. After knowing who the mastermind was who directed the attack on his family, it was not possible for Chu Feng to wait another instant. He wanted to quickly kill that Gong Lion as an offering for his Chu family members, as well as the souls of the several 100,000 people from the Golden Purple City. So what Chu Feng needed to do was to search for the whereabouts of Gong Lion. On the second day that Chu Feng and Su Rou left, the army from the Vermilion Bird City finally arrived outside of the Five Tiger Village. Since they knew that people in there were criminals who ran for their lives, they did a strict arrangement and formed an impenetrable circle that surrounded the village as they went closer and closer to the Five Tiger Village. However, as they neared the Five Tiger Village, the Vermilion Bird City's army were more and more uneasy. Why was the Five Tiger Village that should have been noisy so silent? It was simply not normal for it to be so quiet. At first, they even suspected that it was possibly a trap. However, later on, they discovered that it wasn't a trap because they smelled something. The smell of blood. My lord, what should we do? The smell of blood always made people fearful because it was a signal that represented danger. So, at that instant, the powerful people from the Vermilion Bird City were also slightly afraid, and everyone cast their gazes towards the city lord, Su Hen. At that moment, Su Hen's deep thoughts were unstable. Such a strong stench of blood meant that a lot of people died. At least it meant that a huge battle happened within the Five Tiger Village, so even he did not know what kind of dangers were in it. But after thinking for a while, he still ordered, "Kill. Kill tilde tilde tilde." After Su Hen spoke, everyone loudly yelled and the word "kill" resonated in the mountain forests. Even the ground rumbled. The army of the Vermilion Bird City, under the lead of Su Hen and various other powerful people, rushed into the Five Tiger Village with a burst of courage. However, after rushing into the Five Tiger Village, all of them were dumbfounded, and they were completely stupefied by the scene in front of them. The scene in front of their eyes could only be summarized with one word: cruel. Even more cruel than the Golden Purple City, because every single people's death there was that horrifying. It made people unable to look straight at it. If it was said that corpses filled the ground in the Golden Purple City, then at that instant, in the Five Tiger Village, it was hell. There was not a single complete corpse. Only incomplete skeletons remained other than pools of blood. Even the people from the Vermilion Bird City, who experienced the battlefields, found it hard to bear that scene. Even Su Hen's face changed quickly. As for the guards of the Vermilion Bird City, some trembled, some threw up while kneeling on the ground, and some even directly lost consciousness out of fear. Even after losing consciousness, white foam came out of their mouths, and their bodies were violently twitching. It could be seen that they were extremely terrified. Did they get silenced? What kind of person could be so cruel? It seems like Chu Feng has met with big trouble, so it seems that Little Ru and Little May must be kept at a distance from him. Su Hen tightly frowned. He did not know that it was done by Chu Feng, and he even thought that it was all done by the mastermind who directed the Five Tiger Village in order to silence them. As he looked at that wretched scene, he could imagine what kind of dangerous person that mastermind must be. Yet Chu Feng angered such a person. Naturally, he did not want to be affected as well. Within the Black Tortoise City, security was tight and all the guards in the city were dispatched. Many experts in the Black Tortoise City, who closed themselves behind doors for cultivation, also came out. The reason why all that was happening was because, within the territory of the Black Tortoise City, an extremely dangerous person appeared. No one knew what that person's real appearance was because those who saw that person's appearance were killed, and the people who were killed were all people from the Gong family. What status did people from the Gong family have? They were the rulers of the Black Tortoise City. The people who were killed were even high-ranking characters who had quite some status in the Gong family. Clearly, someone was provoking the Gong family, and becoming a huge enemy. The experts from the Gong family were endlessly being killed, and the dignity of the Gong family was being challenging in their own territory. Naturally, the Gong family could not possibly tolerate that, so this time, the Gong family truly dispatched a large group of people, and they vowed to apprehend the culprit. Ah, damn it, who are you to dare to repeatedly attack my Gong family? Within the unmarked graves outside of the Black Tortoise City, a middle-aged male who wore sumptuous clothing laid on the ground. Blood filled his mouth and fear filled his face. Surrounding him laid almost 100 Black Tortoise City guards. However, those people did not breathe anymore. He was a Gong family member, and he had the cultivation of the third level of the profound realm. He was sent by the Gong family to search for the culprit, who hiddenly killed the other Gong family members. On that day, finally, he met that culprit. However, he never would have thought that he would be so strong that even him, who was at the third level of the profound realm, was completely powerless in front of him. Tell me where Gong Lion is. Chu Feng wore a flax robe, and in those days, he was lingering near the Black Tortoise City and slaughtering one Gong family expert after the other. His goal was not revenge. His goal was to find the whereabouts of Gong Lion. Sooner or later, he was going to exterminate the Gong family. However, he was not impatient. At that moment, the person he wanted to kill the most was Gong Lion, the person who hiddenly killed the people from his Chu family. If he did not kill Gong Lion, it would be extremely hard for him to dispel the hatred in his heart. So you came for Gong Lion, kill me. Even if I die, I will not tell you where Lion went. That person from the Gong family was quite unyielding. Chu Feng was already prepared for that reaction, because it was not the first time that he met such an answer. It could be seen that everyone who Chu Feng killed before refused to answer that question. It had to be said that the Gong family was quite courageous and unyielding, and it was something that was quite rare. However, when people like them became enemies, it was a very troubling thing, and after a few days of observations, Chu Feng discovered a problem. No wonder the Gong family was quite valued by the Qilin prince's mansion. The foundation of the Gong family really was the stronger one within first-rate cities. It could be said that the Black Tortoise City surpassed the Vermilion Bird City quite a bit, so strong that the current Chu Feng could only linger around the outskirts of the city, and it was very hard for him to enter the city itself. Chu Feng felt that inside the city, there were characters that even he could not suppress. If you want to die, I can grant you that wish, but before you die, I will let you suffer torture. You've seen the Gong family corpses, right? I will make you several times more miserable than them. A flash came from Chu Feng's sleeve, and a sharp dagger appeared. Gulp after seeing the dagger which glared, the powerful Gong family person couldn't help but swallow some saliva. He recalled the Gong family members who were killed by Chu Feng before. Indeed, they were extremely miserable. Just by looking at their corpses, one would tremble even though it wasn't cold. It could be imagined how they were tormented before they died. If I tell you, can you spare my life? The Gong family member's gaze glittered, and as he trembled, he said those words, I can spare your life. In response, Chu Feng unhesitatingly promised. Truly, the Gong family member was a bit suspicious. I have always spoke the truth. Even though Chu Feng's face was concealed, one could still see the sincerity in his gaze. Lion was invited to the Valley of 100 Bends to participate in the heroic hunt that happens once every year in the Azure province. The peak disciples of the many schools in the Azure province went to participate in this hunt. The Gong family member said in a low voice. Chu Feng had heard of the heroic hunt before. It was a huge thing that happened once a year in the Azure province, and only the top disciples of various schools could participate in it. So Gong Lion being able to be invited made Chu Feng a bit surprised, because those who were able to be invited to the heroic hunt were mostly top disciples of first-rate schools. Almost no disciples from second-rate schools received invitations. How many days are left to the heroic hunt? Chu Feng quickly asked. There are 3 more days until it starts. The Valley of 100 Bends is very far from here. And after the hunt starts, schools from various places will work together to seal the entrance. You won't get there in time. The Gong family member reminded. No need to worry about that. Chu Feng sneered, and the dagger in his hand flashed past. The Gong family member's face instantly changed greatly, and he quickly covered his neck area. But he could not stop the blood that was gushing out from his neck. He said with a furious face, You went back on your word. If you had to blame something, you could only blame your foolishness. Chu Feng's gaze became even more eerie, and a boundless attraction surged out from his body and rushed into the body of that Gong family member. At that instant, the Gong family member opened his mouth and started to painfully scream, because he could feel that the most important thing in his body was being absorbed by a terrifying power. Source energy. His source energy was being absorbed by Eggy, who was in Chu Feng's body. The absorption of a dead person's source energy could not be felt, because they were dead. However, when a person's source energy was being absorbed when they were alive, it was extremely painful, even more painful than having their blood all sucked dry from their body. After killing the Gong family member, Chu Feng collected all the cosmos sacks from everyone who was there. However, after some inspection, he extremely displeasedly curled his lips and said, A bunch of poor bastards. The white-headed eagle was flying in the clouds. With its speed, it wasn't hard for them to arrive at the Valley of 100 Bends within 3 days. Chu Feng sat on the white-headed eagle, but he wasn't staying idle. He was doing some preparations for entering the Valley of 100 Bends. The heroic hunt in the Valley of 100 Bends was extremely famous in the Azure province. The Valley of 100 Bends was a very special place, being a sacred land of medicines. Not only were the large amounts of spiritual and origin medicines within it, there were even many profound medicines. However, the Valley of 100 Bends was usually closed off. It would only open once a year for the outstanding disciples from the Azure province's various schools. They would enter the hunt, and as for how much resources they could get, it all depended on their abilities. In short, the Valley of 100 Bends did not belong to any power, but to the entire Azure province. So, as long as the disciples from various schools had strength, they could enter. But there was one thing. If someone wanted to enter the Valley of 100 Bends to participate in the heroic hunt that happened once a year, it was a must to have sufficient strength, and they needed to register with their real name. Chu Feng could not participate in the heroic hunt with the identity of Mr. Greycloak, so he had to enter with the identity of Chu Feng. That identity only had the 2nd level of the origin realm as his cultivation, so even he used all of his battle power, it would still be quite challenging for him to pass the heroic hunt exam. So Chu Feng had to increase his cultivation. In the past days, he grabbed quite a few belongings from others. To normal people, perhaps they were treasures, but to Chu Feng, they weren't much, because the only things that assisted his cultivation were only the 20 high-quality profound medicine that the head of the Void School gave him. Only those had some effect towards him. A single profound medicine was refined, and the strong profound power quickly spread throughout his body. However, it couldn't do anything to Chu Feng's dantian. With a single gulp, it swallowed the burst of profound power. These guys must have been born on the year of the wolf. You swallow spiritual energy with one gulp. You swallow origin power with one gulp. And you still swallow profound power with one gulp. Damn, what on earth can feed you guys full? Chu Feng felt quite helpless. Even though there were only 8 divine lightning in his dantian, their appetite got bigger and bigger. That made him feel more and more pressure. Only after Chu Feng refined the 5th high-quality profound medicine did he feel some change happening to the origin power in his body. After his cultivation increased by a single level, Chu Feng felt even more helpless. How precious were profound medicine! They were greatly beneficial towards powerful people in the profound realm. But him, a person at a mere 2nd level of the origin realm, needed to refine 5 of such treasures in order to have a breakthrough into the 3rd level of the origin realm. That made him quite speechless. But luckily, what came after was quite nice. After refining the 15 other profound medicine, Chu Feng felt that he was going to have a breakthrough again. So he swallowed everything that he had on him that would help his cultivation into his stomach all at once. Finally, after nearly exhausting his stock, he successfully made another breakthrough, and he entered the 4th level of the origin realm. 4th level of the origin realm. It should be enough to participate in that heroic hunt, right? After some calculations, with his current cultivation and the methods he grasped, it was not a problem for him to fight those at the 8th level of the origin realm. If he also used the power of the golden-colored lightning and raised his cultivation to the 5th level of the origin realm, those at the 9th level of the origin realm did not even need to be mentioned. If Chu Feng used all his power and used all his abilities, it was still possible for him to fight a powerful person at the 1st level of the profound realm. From what he knew, if one did not receive an invitation, they were required to pass a series of exams in order to be qualified to participate in the heroic hunt. However, they still needed at least the power from the cultivation of the 1st level of the profound realm in order to pass that. So Chu Feng also felt the pressure. After all, he did not want to expose his other methods too early. After hurrying for 2 days, finally, Chu Feng arrived near the Valley of 100 Bends. To avoid any unnecessary troubles by riding the top-quality white-headed eagle, he hiddenly landed in a certain area and walked towards the Valley of 100 Bends. The Valley of 100 Bends was actually a huge primitive area. There were valleys, mountain ranges, forests, rivers, swamps, and it was extremely vast but also extremely beautiful. However, that beautiful scene in the Valley of 100 Bends could only be seen for a few days every year. Of course, that treatment was only enjoyable for those who could actually enter the Valley of 100 Bends. Quickly look there. Even a little child is here for the liveliness. That's true, eh? Look carefully at his clothes that he is wearing. I don't recall seeing that before. He wouldn't be a disciple from a second-rate school, would he? Whatever, who cares about him? He's not afraid of losing face, so why do we need to mind? There was no need to conceal his identity by appearing at that place, so Chu Feng wore the clothing for the Azure Dragon School's core disciples. Something that he was helpless towards and could not be avoided were the mock from people. Chu Feng already gotten used to that type of mock. In any big occasions when he met some disciples from some first-rate schools, he would always receive their mock. Besides, it was the heroic hunt, where many excellent disciples from various schools gathered. Chu Feng followed the 2 disciples from a first-rate school who mocked him before and entered the same examination location. When they entered, the 2 people always used gazes of disdain to stare at Chu Feng from start to finish. However, when the 3 of them left the examination location, the gazes of the 2 completely changed. They were not longer gazes of disdain, but gazes of shock. Shock that was extremely complicated and hard to express. As for why such change happened, that was because the 2 of them, who were disciples from a first-rate school and also had the cultivation of the 8th level of the origin realm, both failed the exam. As for Chu Feng, a disciple from a second-rate school who only had the cultivation of the 4th level of the origin realm, passed, and he passed very effortlessly. After that, Chu Feng arrived at a conclusion, and it was that the exam wasn't as hard as it was said to be. Of course, he neglected the fact that he was a monster. After passing the exam, Chu Feng gained the qualifications to enter the Valley of 100 Bends. After entering it, he first saw a huge, tall, and magnificent city. The city was built within mountains and rivers, and it was indeed very beautiful. Chu Feng spread out his spirit power, and at the end, he got a surprising result. There were a large number of powerful people gathered within the city. People in the profound realm were uncountable, and there were also many people at the peak of the profound realm. Indeed, many huge characters from the Azure province gathered there, as well as many peak geniuses from various schools. Not a single person was simple, so at that place he needed to be careful and cautious. He was not allowed to have half a point of carelessness. The tall, big, and beautiful city wasn't actually that big, but it was extremely delicate. It was created on the peak of the mountain range, and surrounding it were huge waterfalls that went down the valley as the sunlight shone through the mist, and a seven-colored rainbow bridge appeared. Cranes circled and passed above the rainbows, and it was quite aesthetically pleasing. Looking over at that scene, it seemed just like a realm for saints. No wonder people said that the scenery in the Valley of Hundred Bends was peerless in the world. At least in Chu Feng's eyes, it was the most beautiful place that he had ever seen before. Of course, the scene in front of him was only a corner of the Valley of Hundred Bends. It was truly only a corner because that place was only the outskirts of the Valley of Hundred Bends. Although everyone who prepared to participate in the heroic hunt could temporarily rest there, the luxurious palaces could only be used by the greater characters from various powers. On the other hand, the disciples were waiting in a supersized plaza that was located on the peak of a cliff. Chu Feng spread his spirit power out, and he wanted to find the whereabouts of Gong Lion. As he walked, Chu Feng was actually quite shocked because within the people who gathered there, other than himself, almost everyone were experts in the profound realm. They were young geniuses of their generation. In terms of real cultivation, Chu Feng truly wasn't much in the group of people, because those people were true geniuses. Almost everyone grasped special methods, and if any one of them came out, Chu Feng would have quite some difficulty if he wanted to defeat them. As for those who could suppress Chu Feng, innumerable. However, the relationship of those people weren't too friendly. Most of them formed groups of 3 or 5, but there were also groups with a large number of people. For example, the disciples from the Lingyun School, as well as the young generation from the Qilin Prince's mansion. Those two groups of people represented the two strongest powers in the Azure province. They had the most number of people, so they would have the most number of elites. Every single power would show respect at a distance, as they were deeply afraid of offending the endlessly proud people. Finally, I found you. Suddenly, two fists in Chu Feng's sleeve tightly clenched and killing intent instantly emerged into his eyes. He quickly walked towards an area in the plaza. A large group of people gathered in that area. All of them surrounded a young person who were around 20 years old. There were males and there were females. The females were beauties, but in between their eyebrows was proudness. The appearances of the males were all different, but the strength they possessed was not ordinary. All of them were at the profound realm, and most of them came from first-rate schools. But exactly because of that, when a rather handsome male wore the clothing of a second-rate school, he seemed quite off when he was in the group. As for who that person was, naturally, it was the #1 disciple in the Azure Dragon School, the son of the Black Tortoise City's lord who instigated the 5-tiger village, Gong Lion. Although disciples from second-rate schools should have been looked down upon by countless people there, Gong Lion was not seen by any gazes like that. Instead, within the gazes of males, there was admiration. Within the gazes of females, there was adoration. The group of people chatted and laughed together, and some people even praised Gong Lion openly. From that, the reason why Gong Lion wasn't looked down was stated there. Brother Gong, I really have to congratulate you. You actually became the foster grandson of Mr. Lin Ran. In the future, you need to take care of us more. Some people said with admiration all over their face. Brother Lai, you're too polite. Gong Lion courteously smiled. Ah, Brother Gong, no need to be so modest. Who doesn't know that Mr. Lin Ran is a powerful person at the peak of the profound realm? He is the head manager of the Lin clan in the Qilin Prince's mansion, and many people from the Qilin Prince's mansion want to set up a relationship with that old man, yet they can't. But today, he recognized you as his foster grandson. This would arouse the admiration of quite a few people. Another male with a more rougher face chuckled and said, "What use does admiration have?" Mr. Lin Ran recognized Lion as his foster grandson because his has quite good eyes. Brother Lion is young, but he is already at the second level of the profound realm. His battle prowess is not ordinary, and he can defeat the strong as the weak. Even those at the third level of the profound realm cannot defeat him, and his future achievements are simply unmeasurable. An alluring female went close to Gong Lion. That's right. Brother Gong is a true genius, and we truly admire you from the bottom of our hearts. However, with his talent, it is quite undeserved for Brother Gong to enter the Azure Dragon School. Another female went close to him as well. Yeah, I heard that there was a brat who did not have eyes in the Azure Dragon School, and he dared to challenge Brother Gong. Something about taking your life after 1 year. I really don't know where that brat got his confidence from. Is it true or false? There's actually something like that. Brother Gong was what he said true. The world is huge, so there are all sorts of people in it. When facing a person like him, I, Gong Lion, feel that it is not worthy for me to pay attention to him. However, he was so aggressive that I had to accept his arranged battle. He is but a little minion, so no need to worry everyone. Gong Lion smiled and waved his hand. So that means it's true. Brother Gong, who is that brat cold? If you don't feel well to attack those from the same school, I'll give a lesson to him for you. Yeah, he came from the same school, yet he dares to be disrespectful to the #1 disciple. These kinds of people truly aren't educated, and they should get a beating. After knowing that such a thing happened, everyone curiously asked more about it. Gong Lion, you're living comfortably, huh? Just at that time, a voice suddenly rang out into the crowd. As they looked towards the origin of the voice, everyone couldn't help but be taken aback because they discovered, from nearby, a young man stood there. He was indeed a young man, and from his face, he did not seem to be over 15 years old. Although the heroic hunt was a prospering period for the Azure Province's young generation, most of them were young adults, and when such a tender young man appeared in that place, it made everyone quite shocked, especially when the young man's clothing was exactly the same as Gong Lion, being also from the Azure Dragon School. That made people even more shocked. They were also quite curious who he was. Even you entered here. Gong Lion tightly frowned and surprise appeared in his gaze. Naturally, he recognized who the young man in front of him was. It was Chu Feng who arranged a fight after 1 year. When Gong Lion discovered that Chu Feng's cultivation became the 4th level of the origin realm, the bit of surprise in his gaze became more serious. If even a foster grandson like you can enter, why can't I? Gong Lion, I came here for no other reason but to remind you, after entering this valley of 100 bends, you better be careful. Careful, as after you finish all your evil deeds, you receive retribution. After speaking those words, Chu Feng waved his big sleeve, then turned around and left. Brother Gong, who is that person? Why were his words so unpleasant? Seeing that, everyone quickly questioned. Didn't you just ask who the brat who arranged a battle with me was? Gong Lion lightly smiled and said, it wouldn't be him, right? Everyone was greatly shocked. That's right. He's that bastard brat. When Gong Lion spoke those words, he was gnashing his teeth and a cold glare appeared in his gaze. He's that brat who doesn't have eyes. After hearing those words, the surrounding people expressed a bit of shock. No wonder he dared to so arrogantly challenge Brother Gong. If he is able to mix into the heroic hunt with the cultivation of the 4th level of the origin realm, it seems that this boy still has a bit of skill. But some people also felt that Chu Feng was indeed not simple. HMPH. When he heard that someone approved of Chu Feng, Gong Lion coldly snorted and obvious dissatisfaction appeared on his face. Lion, since this brat dares to come here to challenge you, he is simply looking to walk onto his road of death. I'll help you track him, and after he enters the Valley of 100 Bends, I'll help you finish off this brat. Seeing that, the alluring female pulled Gong Lion to the side and said in a low voice, Sister Wang is right. He can come in, but he will not come out. Just at that time, the group of people gathered together and some killing intent emerged onto their faces. This isn't too good, right? When he saw that, Gong Lion hesitated a bit, but he did not refuse. Brother Gong, when people like him fight with you, you only need one strike to make him disappear like a strand of smoke. Killing him is only a matter of time. However, these kinds of people are like dogs. If you don't slaughter him, perhaps he would jump out and bite you. So do not be too kind towards people like him, and it's best to finish him off earlier. Seeing that Gong Lion had some hesitation, some people started to urge him one after the other. Then, sorry to trouble all of you. I, Gong Lion, will remember everyone's loyalty, and I will certainly repay all of you in the future. Some people were on friendly terms with Gong Lion, so he didn't push it away anymore. He only clasped his hands together towards the crowd with a touched face, just the work of raising a hand. After Gong Lion expressed that, the group of people were incomparably happy. After all, from what they saw, even if Chu Feng had talent, he was only a little character. It was simply too easy for them to kill Chu Feng. However, if they killed Chu Feng, their relationship with Gong Lion could be advanced to another stage. That brought along quite a few benefits so naturally. They did not shrink away from it, and they wanted to finish off the trouble in Gong Lion's place. The heroic hunt was quite special. Many hunts started in the morning, but this heroic hunt was fixed to start when the sun came down. After almost a day of long waiting, the sun finally descended from the tall skies down to the West Mountains, and the grand occasion that happened once a year in the Azure province, the heroic hunt, was finally going to start. There were many people who joined the heroic hunt, and there were at least several thousand people. However, after that number of people entered deep into the Valley of 100 Bends, they disappeared like a stone thrown into an ocean, because the Valley of 100 Bends was simply that vast. So, if someone had ill intents towards a certain person, they had to tail that person in the instant they entered the Valley of 100 Bends. Otherwise, it was like fishing a needle in an ocean if they wanted to find a person in the Valley of 100 Bends. Coincidentally, behind Chu Feng were a group of people who were exactly like that. There were roughly 20 people in that group, and many of them were at the first level of the profound realm. Several people within the group were even at the second level of the profound realm. Some people in that group even had spirit power, so they could lock onto Chu Feng but not expose themselves. But all of that was useless. Chu Feng already discovered them when they thought that they were tailing him undetectably and were waiting for the time to finish him off. No matter how better their concealment was, they had no way of escaping Chu Feng's Grey Cloak World Spiritist's detection power. Actually, not only did Chu Feng discover Gong Lion and the others who were in the young generation, he also discovered some people in the old generation. Those old people secretly followed Gong Lion and the others. They were undoubtedly there to hiddenly protect Gong Lion, and the others to prevent them from meeting any unnecessary troubles. Chu Feng was not afraid when he faced that. Rather, everything was within his expectations. The reason why he showed himself to greet Gong Lion after he discovered where his whereabouts were was because he wanted Gong Lion to have killing intent towards him. So that way, Gong Lion would follow him to a more desolate location before attacking him. The reason why Chu Feng participated in the heroic hunt was not for the profound medicine. It was to kill Gong Lion. So if he wanted to find a place where he would not be disturbed in order to kill Gong Lion, he had to lead Gong Lion and the others to a place where he himself felt satisfied, and not where Gong Lion, who was secret tailing him, felt satisfied. Asterisk whoosh asterisk feeling that the time was almost right. A flash appeared under Chu Feng's feet, and he used the Imperial Sky technique. Instantly, his speed increased by several times, and after a blink, he disappeared from the palms of Gong Lion and the others. Damn it, this brat's speed is too quick and I lost him. Suddenly, the alluring female stopped her steps forward and she lightly frowned. Really, Sister Wang, you're a world spiritist. You lost that damn brat. Everyone understood what happened after hearing those words. Is it possible that we were discovered by him? Someone suggested that suspicion. That's possible. After all, he also has spirit power, and he was accepted as the final disciple by my Azure Dragon School's huge Lion. However, I never would have thought that he could discover that Sister Wang was following him. Gong Lion gravely said. Now what? Someone raised a question. What else? The person is lost. And in addition, when the sky goes dark, it would be too difficult to try and find him. What we should do now is to go deeper and to find profound medicine. Someone suggested. It seems that we can only do that. Although they were extremely unwilling to, at that moment, they agreed to break up. Brother Gong, don't worry. If that brat meets me, Fu Zioji, I will certainly help you finish him off. A male who had a rather rough appearance clasped his hands towards Gong Lion. Thank you, Brother Fu. Gong Lion smiled, but he could not conceal his disappointment. After knowing Chu Feng's extraordinariness, he became more and more uneasy, especially after meeting him again. He felt that he could absolutely not give Chu Feng any more time to continue developing. Or else, when the day of the arranged battle arrived, the person who would need to suicide would be himself. Everyone, I will take my leave now. The rough-looking male who called himself as Fu Zioji clasped his hands again, then hurriedly rushed deeper in. Everyone, I, Gong Lion, have remembered all your good intentions. The Valley of 100 Bends has ample resources, and since everyone came here, you must have good harvests. Don't waste any more time here and let us scatter. Even though he was disappointed, Gong Lion still smiled towards everyone to express his gratitude. Whoosh however, just at that time, a strong wind suddenly lifted up and a black silhouette abruptly came flying over. With lightning speed, it rushed out from the forest and at the end, it landed next to Gong Lion and the others. What's this? Everyone was surprised at that change, and they even thought that it was a monstrous beast attacking, so they quickly backed away to the side. However, when they cast their gazes at the black silhouette, not a single person's face did not change greatly as fear emerged onto their faces. That black silhouette was not a monstrous beast. It was a person, and it was even a person they were familiar with. It was Fu Zioji who just left first. But at that instant, Fu Zioji's brain already left his neck. There were several big, bloody holes dug out from his chest, and all of the organs in his body were no longer there. As for his brain, it was stuffed into the bloody holes in his chest. His death was abnormally horrifying. What happened? Who did this? Fu Zioji's death was too terrifying, even though the people who were on scene were ruthless. And even though every single person had touched blood before, and every single person had life debts that they carried on their backs, when they saw that scene, they would tremble even though it wasn't cold and chills would go down their spines. Fu Zioji was a person at the first level of the profound realm, who could kill him in such a short period of time, with such cruel methods. There wasn't even any cry of pain, so how scary would the person who killed him be? Whoosh, just at that time, 3 aged figures rushed out from the forest behind the crowd. They were people from the old generation, who hiddenly protected the young generation group. Since the 3 of them heard a cry of surprise earlier, they determined that something must have happened. When they saw that scene, they also tightly frowned and their faces changed greatly. Lord Elders, it's great that you've come. There are dangers in this Valley of 100 Bends. After seeing the 3 old people, Gong Lion and the others quickly went close to them. Although the 3 old people came from different schools, all of them had the cultivation of the 5th level of the profound realm. That kind of strength was not weak within the Azure province. So, after they appeared, the terrified core disciples were as though they saw their savior. What kind of person dares to do this type of thing? One of the elders yelled his throat out from the direction that Fu Zioji flew out from. Rustle, immediately after he spoke, stepping sounds gradually rang out. A person was slowly nearing from the dusky forest. In that instant, everyone's heart were raised to their throats. Gong Lion and the others stood behind the 3 elders, and without moving their eyes away, they stared forward because they knew that the culprit who killed Fu Zioji so cruelly was going to appear. Under the gazes of the crowd, Chu Feng slowly walked out from the forest. However, the current him already changed his clothes. He put the world spirit grey cloak on himself, and he borrowed Egge's power as he emitted the might of a powerful person in the profound realm. It was no longer the petty young man Chu Feng. After a short period of time, He became the great character whose name spread throughout the Azure province, Mr. Greycloak. You are. After seeing Chu Feng, not to mention the disciples, even the three elders' expression changed greatly because all of them simultaneously thought of the mysterious gray-cloaked person who slaughtered the Shangyuan from an earlier period of time, Mr. Greycloak, Senior. I wonder if you are Mr. Greycloak. One of the elders went up to Chu Feng and paid his respects. Boom without even speaking, Chu Feng raised his hand and palmed. When that palm was thrown out, it sent out the power of 300,000 katas. As the old person at the fifth level of the profound realm was caught off guard, he instantly became a pool of blood and exploded in front of the crowd. Boom another palm went out as Chu Feng palmed again. Similarly, another person became a pool of blood and died violently. Senior, we have no grievances nor hatred between us, so why do you attack? Ah! Another person loudly yelled, and before even finishing speaking, he exploded from Chu Feng's palm. From then on, Chu Feng threw out several more palms, and every single palm created absolute power. There would always be a person who died from it. There was no one there who could stop him. They even had no way of dodging, as they looked at themselves being split into multiple pieces, and they could not even keep a complete corpse. Run! After seeing the blood spattered all over their bodies, finally, someone reacted to it, spun around and wanted to escape. HMPH. But how could Chu Feng give them a chance to escape? He turned his hand in the air and grabbed. Strong suction power spread out, like a formless cage, as it bound the disciple who wanted to escape earlier. In an instant, he was pulled towards Chu Feng's palm. This time, he was not directly hit into a pool of blood. He was only forcibly being absorbed by Chu Feng's power that came out from his palm. The pain of his flesh being condensed bit by bit made him endlessly cry out in miserableness as he unceasingly wailed, "You demon, I'll kill you." At that moment, from the three elders, only one still survived, and the person who was forcibly being refined by Chu Feng was a disciple from his own school. That made him furious. Not only did he not escape, he even started an extremely strong attack. The strong, profound power was like the tide as it surged out from his body, and it condensed into a huge chariot in front of him. That chariot was as though it pressed down on void. It made rumbling noises and the ground trembled. Flames lit up in the air from friction. The strong might seemed like it could crush everything, and even the mountains could not stop the collision. However, such a strong martial skill, the full-powered strike of a person at the fifth level of the profound realm, was not even put into Chu Feng's eyes. With the wave of his arm, 6 spirit formations were condensed out, and they surrounded from all directions and enveloped the chariot within them. The spirit formations quickly shrunk, and the strong pressure finally pressed the profound power chariot, which had extremely strong might, into dust as it disappeared in the air. Heavens, is this guy even a person? This is the power of a Greycloak world spiritist. As they faced that scene, almost everyone who was there were stupefied because they personally experienced the strength of Mr. Greycloak. Whoosh but as everyone were staring blankly at that, a figure who was on the ground suddenly leaped out and escaped towards the road that they came from. Seeing that, Chu Feng's expression changed greatly as well, because the person who was escaping was none other than the person who he wanted to kill the most, Gong Lion. A group of trash wants to take my life. All of you should die. Chu Feng was enraged. He no longer killed them off one by one, but with a thought. His entire body became lightning. As the lightning surged, it lit the dark forest into day. Under the shine of the white light, the boundless lightning finally became a huge lightning python. With a single gulp, it swallowed everyone who still survived. Even the old person who was at the fifth level of the profound realm was not let off. After completely burning everyone who was there all at once, Chu Feng used the Imperial Sky technique and chased after Gong Lion with extreme speed. However, after chasing for several miles, Chu Feng's face suddenly changed and he tightly frowned. he discovered that Gong Lion, who used all his power up to escape, stopped running, and he stood where he was. At the same time, a person appeared next to Gong Lion. Obviously, that person was a cultivator. However, Chu Feng could not detect what stage of cultivation he was at, so he was clearly a powerful person. A powerful person who Gong Lion believed could protect him, or else he would not have stopped escaping and waited there for Chu Feng. Asterisk whoosh asterisk. As for Chu Feng, he did not stop moving and he continued chasing. Finally, he arrived at the place where Gong Lion stopped at. At that instant, the figure of an old man also appeared within Chu Feng's line of sight. That old man had hair as white as snow and a gaze that was like a torch. He wore golden-colored armor, and on the chest area of that armor, there was even a domineering qilin engraved on it. The current him stood where he was with both of his hands behind his back. He was lightly smiling at Chu Feng, and the slightly squinting gaze was endlessly assessing Chu Feng. Behind him was Gong Lion, who hid there with terror all over his face. "I am head manager Lin Ran from the Qilin Prince's mansion. Although I don't know how Lion and the others offended you, Mr. Grey Cloak, I do hope that you, a person of high status, can forgive the offenses by this person of low status and spare him once." The old man, who named himself as Lin Ran, kindly smiled at Chu Feng. As he spoke, he was not humble nor arrogant, and he already recognized that the person in front of him was Mr. Grey Cloak, who slaughtered the Shangyuan family. When that old man appeared, Chu Feng couldn't help but tightly frown, because even he had heard of the name of Lin Ran. He was one of the most powerful people in the Qilin Prince's mansion, being an expert at the peak of the profound realm, and he was one of the most famous great characters in the entire Azure province. Chu Feng did not know why such a character recognized Gong Lion as his foster grandson and loved and protected him so much. But he knew if Lin Ran was truly going to protect Gong Lion, this time, it would be difficult for him to even touch Gong Lion anymore. However, when he saw the hated enemy who exterminated his family, Chu Feng's fury already won over his reasoning, so how could he think about it so much? He did not care about Lin Ran, and he raised his palm. Strong, profound power became an invisible huge wave as it slammed towards Lin Ran and Gong Lion. The boundless profound power caused devastation in the air. The strong might shook the nearby trees as if a peak of a mountain was descending from the skies and forcing itself over. "It seems like Mr. Grey Cloak is unwilling to give me Lin Ran face." But as he faced Chu Feng's palm, Lin Ran only disappointedly shook his head. Following that, a cold glare flashed into his gaze, and with a simple flick from his big sleeve, profound power that was several times stronger than Chu Feng's emanated out, and it easily dissolved Chu Feng's palm attack. After dissolving Chu Feng's strike, Lin Ran did not stop. He lightly pointed at Chu Feng, and the profound power in front of him quickly condensed. They formed into thousands and thousands of arrows that were like rain and explosively shot towards Chu Feng. It was not a martial skill. When one had complete control over their profound power, they could freely use profound power to condense it into actual substances. Originally, it was something that only those at the heaven realm could do, but some people could also do it if they were at the peak of the profound realm. 8th level of the profound realm. At that instant, Chu Feng was shocked. Although the 8th level of the profound realm wasn't truly the peak of the profound realm, with Chu Feng's current cultivation of the 1st level of the profound realm, he could really not fight against that person. Asterisk him asterisk, however, he had no way out. So, with a thought, he condensed several gray-colored spirit formations in front of him to block Lin Ran's attacks. Asterisk boom 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 asterisk, but Chu Feng's indestructible spirit formation instantly collapsed under Lin Ran's casual attacks. It was as weak as tofu, and it could simply not even take a single strike. Chu Feng quickly escaped. "The distance in strength is too big, and you cannot defeat him." Egga's voice rang out in Chu Feng's brain. However, how could Chu Feng, who was filled with bloodlust, back away? With a flash under his feet, he was able to use the Imperial Sky technique however he wished to, and he dodged Lin Ran's attacks with light-like speed. Closely following that, Chu Feng flicked his finger at Lin Ran. The roar of a fierce tiger also came along with it. The white tiger slaughtering technique, the secret skill, had already been used by Chu Feng. Although it was only a faint, white-colored gas, the might it gave out was enough to shake the world at that place. This might, it's a secret skill. As he faced Chu Feng's white tiger slaughtering technique, Lin Ran's expression changed greatly, but he was not afraid. He was excited. When he faced the secret skill which was hard to find in the world, he was endlessly excited. Whoosh seeming to know the strength of the secret skill, or possibly feeling the power of the white tiger slaughtering technique. Lin Ran, who was at the 8th level of the profound realm, did not forcefully take Chu Feng's attack head-on. With his big hand, he grabbed Gong Lion's shoulder, and as his body floated, he disappeared and he dodged it. Rumble almost at the same time that Lin Ran and Gong Lion dodged. The white tiger slaughtering technique landed on the place where Lin Ran was previously. Although it seemed to be insignificant gas, when it collided with the ground, it instantly became a domineering stream of gas. It destroyed the land and made it into a mess, as a finger-wide deep hole extended down. No one knew how many meters it continued for. Haha, what a great secret skill. Truly, it cannot be found after searching the entire world, but getting it did not require any work. Just at that time, Lin Ran and Gong Lion appeared nearby. As he looked at the might caused by the white tiger slaughtering technique, Lin Ran insanely laughed. Whoosh 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 almost at the same time that the two of them appeared. Chu Feng's spirit power already locked onto their position. He flicked his fingers at the same time, and 5 white-colored gases were madly shooting through the air. As it went over from multiple locations, he attacked again. Roar. If it was said that a single row of gas was like a single claw from a white tiger, the 5 gases would be like a white tiger's paw. As the sharp claws slammed out, not only were the 5 white-colored gases there. Hiddenly, one could even see a huge paw of a fierce tiger appearing in the air as it flew towards the two people. That might was several times stronger than before. Even the ground started to violently tremble and countless cracks appeared. The nearby trees also started to violently sway, and some even snapped into two as the fragments they flew away. Such strong might. Haha, I like it. That might already stupefied Gong Lion from fear, but Lin Ran got even more and more insane. This time he did not immediately dodge. He only waved his big sleeve and kept on swirling it. He wanted to try and block it. I'll let you experience my Qilin Prince's mansion's Qilin shield. As his big sleeve waved around, layers of profound power also appeared, and it became a huge shield in front of him. That shield was circle-shaped, and it had the diameter of 10 meters. It seemed to be made out of steel, but it was formed by profound power. Around the shield were sharp teeth, and in the middle of the shield was a head of a Qilin which had its teeth showing. After the shield appeared, it started to continue swirling, and as it swirled, it caused some hurricanes. Not only was it an indestructible shield, it was also an invincible sharp weapon. It was a rank 6 defense martial skill. When it was in Lin Ran's hands, it displayed the might that it should have, and it was currently forcing the claws of the white tiger back. At that moment, they were going to collide. In that instant, no matter if it was Chu Feng or Lin Ran, both of their gazes were tightly locked on the Qilin shield as well as the white tiger slaughtering technique. No matter if it was Chu Feng or Lin Ran, they wanted to experiment which one was stronger and which one was weaker between the secret skill and the martial skill. Boom. Finally, the two of them collided together. However, the result was both expected, yet also unexpected. In front of the white tiger slaughtering technique, the strong Qilin shield did not even remain there for half a second. Instantly, it shattered, and the white tiger slaughtering technique was not damaged at all as it continued attacking Lin Ran and Gong Lion. Whoosh. At that instant, even Lin Ran's face could not remain calm. As he faced such a powerful white tiger slaughtering technique, he had no choice but to quickly dodge, and he did not dare to continue holding it back. Asterisk rumble 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 asterisk this time, when the white tiger slaughtering technique collided with the ground, it formed a huge palm mark. It was not a simple palm mark. It was the palm of a tiger, the paw of a tiger. The huge paw mark had the diameter of 10 meters, and it deeply imprinted itself on the ground. However, the deep paw mark was not all. 5 small yet deep holes continued extending, and the end of them could not be seen. The might of secret skills are indeed peerless in the world. Mr. Gray Cloak, I wonder if you can tell me where you found this secret skill. This time, Lin Ran appeared behind Chu Feng, and he waved his big sleeve. Another Qilin shield was condensed out, and with that terrifying might, it pressed towards Chu Feng from behind. It had to be said that Lin Ran's speed was too quick. The speed that he condensed a martial skill out surpassed his imagination, and even with Chu Feng's current spirit power, he couldn't even match his pace. Damn it! As he faced such a strong Qilin shield, Chu Feng could only fight against it with the white tiger slaughtering technique. However, when he wanted to link with the white tiger in his body, and when he wanted to use the white tiger slaughtering technique again, he discovered that the white tiger in his awareness disappeared. What is happening? His strongest method, the white tiger slaughtering technique, was currently unable to be used. That made Chu Feng panic as he quickly dodged. However, just after Chu Feng dodged, the Qilin shield also abruptly changed directions and pressed towards Chu Feng again. This time, its speed was even quicker. Asterisk whoosh asterisk under that kind of situation, Chu Feng did not dare to have any bit of hesitation anymore. He used the Imperial Sky technique to the extreme and rushed deeper into the Valley of 100 Bends. Lion, you wait here. Seeing that, after telling Gong Lion that, Lin Ran chased after Chu Feng and he loudly said, "Mr. Gray Cloak, where's the need to leave so quickly? Why not tell me about that secret skill? Damn it, what is happening? Why can't I use my secret skill?" Chu Feng was quite anxious. The only thing that Lin Ran was fearful towards was his white tiger slaughtering technique. However, at that moment, he could not use it. That made Chu Feng lose the only thing that made him qualified to fight against Lin Ran. Idiot, secret skills are extremely special and they have life. They aren't controllable by profound power. Although your cultivation has been raised to the profound realm after borrowing my power, in reality, you are still in the origin realm. So, it would not let you abuse its power. Right now, you can only use the secret skill to this degree, and this is the limit. I'm afraid that for today, it will be impossible for you to use the secret skill again. Eggy solemnly reminded, so there's actually something like this. Damn it. After knowing the truth, Chu Feng was both angered and annoyed. His hated enemy was so close, but not only did he have no way of killing him, he was even forced to escape. That truly forced him to hold his grievances back. However, he could not do anything about it. Who told him to have insufficient strength if he didn't rely on Eggy's power and only used with his own cultivation? Not to mention fighting Lin Ran. Even Gong Lion could force him to his current state. Chu Feng, this isn't going to work if this goes on. Let me control your body. Chu Feng used the Imperial Sky technique to the extreme, but the difference in speed between him and Lin Ran was currently being pulled closer. Lin Ran was too strong. In front of such cultivation, Chu Feng was truly too weak, and in that situation, Eggy wanted to jump in. No, I won't let you be injured again because of helping me. When Eggy used the power of Asura, her spirit almost got extinguished, so Chu Feng immediately refused. You idiot, I won't work my life out as much as before. Quickly give me your body or else you will die, and I want live as well. Eggy refuted. No, from now on, it will be my turn to protect you. Even if I die, I will die in front of you. Chu Feng was incomparably stubborn, and after speaking, the light under his feet became even more bright, and his speed increased even more. Mr. Greycloak, it's best if you tell me the origin of the secret skill before leaving. Seeing that, Lin Ran was not hurried at all. He changed his technique and dissolved the powerful Qilin shield. He then turned his hand over and grabbed. Extremely cold gas appeared, and the cold air quickly spread everywhere. All the flowers and grasses that it passed were all frozen solid. Even the tall and big trees had a layer of frost on it, and it lost its life. This aura, it's a rank 6 martial skill. Chu Feng turned his head to look, and he couldn't help but be frightened. Behind him, vast cold air engulfed everything. It was like an invisible monster, and with bone-piercing cold air. It was heading towards Chu Feng to swallow him whole. From the pressure, Chu Feng could feel that it was undoubtedly a rank 6 martial skill, or else even Lin Ran could not create an attack with such might. At that instant, Chu Feng could only activate the golden-colored lightning in his blood, and he raised his cultivation to the second level of the profound realm from the first level of the profound realm. Then he put all his power into the imperial sky technique to try to escape once again. But it was in vain, as the area of the cold air was extremely big, and its speed was extremely fast. As Lin Ran neared, the cold gas also quickly neared Chu Feng. In that situation, Chu Feng was quickly going to be engulfed by it. Give up. It is impossible for you to escape from my cold ice atmosphere. Lin Ran revealed his teeth and showed a face that displayed that he was going to get what he wanted to get. Damn it, will I, Chu Feng, be defeated here? No, I will not be defeated. I still haven't taken revenge. I still haven't found my family. How can I possibly die here and be defeated by such a person? Wouldn't I shame my family? Chu Feng yelled in his heart, and at the same time, the profound power in his body revolved and quickly went along special meridians. He was making a breakthrough. A type of breakthrough that he attempted many times but never succeeded. It was the true obscurity of the imperial sky technique. Let me see where you're going to escape to. Lin Ran neared once again, and the cold air followed him. From behind, it surrounded Chu Feng, and it also sealed the path forward. Chu Feng was completely surrounded, and he could go nowhere. Bang, just at that time, Chu Feng suddenly tapped the ground with his legs. Like an arrow leaving the bow, his entire body shot up into the sky. HMPH, you think that you can escape like that? Unless you can fly, you will be engulfed by my cold air. As he saw Chu Feng leap into the sky, Lin Ran only sneered, and without hurry, he controlled the cold air to form a huge net underneath. He waited for Chu Feng to fall back down so he could catch Chu Feng completely. But then, the magical scene happened. When Chu Feng's legs were in the air, he kept on walking. After every step, his entire body would rise a bit more. After walking for a while, not only did he not fall back down, he even went higher and higher. The distance between him and the ground was already 100 meters. How was that even a simple leap into the sky? He walked on air. He resisted the air and walked. Lin Ran, I will take your life when we meet next time. Chu Feng turned his head around and left those words behind with an aged voice before walking on air and quickly heading towards the distant horizon. The current Lin Ran was already at a loss on the ground. He blankly stared at the night sky, which contained bright stars, as well as the body that was going further and further away. On his aged face was shock, and only after a good while did he slowly come to his senses as he said quietly, He really can fly. Within a certain forest in the Valley of 100 Bends, a layer of ice condensed on the trees and grasses. Cold air lingered around and it filled the area. Lin Ran was still standing in the middle of it, while raising his head to look at the starry night. His chest rose up and down, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. Only after a good while did he slowly calm down. He clearly isn't in the heaven realm, yet he can resist the air and walk. Did he grasp the Imperial Sky Sage's unique skill? Lin Ran tightly frowned, but he did not continue chasing. He only turned around and went back. It wasn't that he didn't want to chase, since after seeing all of Chu Feng's methods, he hated himself for not taking everything that Chu Feng had for himself. But sadly, he truly could not do anything about Chu Feng, who could walk on air. Lin Ran returned to where Gong Lian was. he discovered that the paw marks as well as the huge claw holes were still there. However, compared to before when he left, change happened. 6 small water pillars were currently spraying out from the claw holes. A single finger contained so much power. These tunnels linked to the underground water streams. Lin Ran tightly frowned and shock filled his gaze. Grandfather, did that person really use a legendary secret skill? Seeing that, Gong Lion went over to ask because he still remembered the terrifying might that Chu Feng displayed earlier. Although I haven't personally seen it, I have researched secret skills. No matter if you look at it in terms of the might or the power, what Mr. Grey Cloak used was undoubtedly a secret skill. Also, not only did that person grasp a secret skill, he also grasped a very powerful bodily martial skill. Lin Ran's face was full of admiration when he remembered the scene in which Chu Feng walked on air. Originally, he thought that with his high cultivation, he could have completely suppressed Chu Feng, but it was in vain as the methods Chu Feng grasped were mysterious to the extreme. It truly made his heart itch, and it was quite intolerable. He grasped other methods. What kind of methods? Gong Lion expressed curiosity. No need to ask about that. After all, those are the methods of other people. If in the future I can get a secret skill, I will certainly pass it down to you. Lion, although your talent is not bad, it isn't the best in the continent of the 9 provinces. When you do things, you must do them to a certain level. That Mr. Grey Cloak would not attack you for no cause or reason. He must have some sort of relationship with Chu Feng, so it's better if you be more careful in the future. Lin Ran reminded, that mysterious Mr. Grey Cloak is related to Chu Feng. He felt that it was quite strange when he thought that Mr. Grey Cloak, who grasped so many special methods, was related to Chu Feng. Gong Lion had no way of accepting it. Although it's just a guess, it is extremely possible. Even I will find it hard to catch Mr. Grey Cloak if he snuck into this place, and even if I report back to the prince's mansion, I'm sure that they can't do anything about him. According to the rules with my status, although I can protect all of you as you come in, I cannot stay for a long time. To avoid any more attacks on you, it's best for you to abandon this hunt. Lin Ran said, Grandfather, this. After hearing those words, Gong Lion's face greatly changed. No this or that. Is you little life important? Or is this tiny bit of profound medicine important? Do you want to become the same as your dog-like friends and become a heap of broken flesh and pool of blood? Lin Ran sharply yelled, and then added, with me here, are you afraid that you won't have any cultivating resources? Don't worry. I have already applied towards the mansion's lord to let you join my Qilin prince's mansion. At that time I can pass all my abilities down to you. Thank you, grandfather, for your benevolence and kindness. After hearing those words, Gong Lion went from misery to happiness, and his happiness was quite unexpected. The Qilin prince's mansion was the true overlord of the Azure province. Go return, I'll hiddenly protect you. Lin Ran smiled and waved his hand. He was quite kind and his gaze was full of love. Of course, Gong Lion did not dare to refute. With a happy mood, he went back onto the road that he came from. He who had Lin Ran hiddenly protecting him did not have a single trace of worry. After Gong Lion went far away, Lin Ran took out a letter from his chest pocket. After opening the letter, there were a few rows of graceful characters. Lord Lin Ran, do you remember a female who saved your life 20 years ago outside of the Black Tortoise City, and also lost her chastity to you? Although I am currently the wife of the Black Tortoise City's lord, Lion is the child between you and me. He is not the son of Gong Changshan. He is your child. Originally, I didn't want to mention this matter to you, because, after all, to you, a female like me is not even worth mentioning. However, at the end, Lion is your child. Gong Changshan is too stubborn and he had to send Lion to the second-rate school, the Azure Dragon School, to cultivate, and he wasted Lion's good talent for nothing. I hope that you, Lord, can see Lion as your own flesh and blood to bring Lion away from the Azure Dragon School and to give him a better future. After reading it, Lin Ran reluctantly folded the letter back. He did not put it in his cosmos sack, but back into his chest pocket and reminiscently said, "I've searched for you for 20 years, but I never would have thought that you gave me such a surprise in addition to finding you. Don't worry, I won't let our son be someone who will not be known." As Lin Ran thought about his own lover, Chu Feng was still walking in the air. At that moment, he already arrived in the clouds and he was running within them. He was like a dragon going up, going down, and endlessly turning over. "Ha ha, this is the feeling of walking on the air. It's too refreshing." Chu Feng was incomparably joyful, although it wasn't the first time that he flew into the air. When compared to sitting on the white-headed eagle, clearly, it was quite a bit better when he himself went towards the horizon as he wished. What's that? Suddenly, borrowing the light from the moon, Chu Feng discovered a mountain peak, and that mountain peak did not enter the clouds. Also, on the summit of the mountain peak, Chu Feng saw light. Vaguely, it seemed like a building, and after nearing, indeed, there was a temple hall. Someone lived there. Chu Feng couldn't avoid being shocked, because he discovered that the mountain peak was abnormally steep. It simply rose up perfectly straight like a ladder to the heavens. That shape, that height, without a certain cultivation, it would be very difficult to climb to that place, let alone the temple hall built on the summit of the mountain peak. After all, the Valley of 100 Bends was a forbidden land. Every year, it would only be opened for a bit over a dozen days. After that, no one was allowed to enter, so who would build a temple hall in that place?